I'm not alone in studio. How are you doing, Vivian?
I am doing very well. A very good morning to each and every one of you who is tuned in on the show this beautiful Tuesday morning. I believe that your day has started off just right. Over here, we've started off on the right foot, and we have a lot in store for you. Today being a Tuesday, we'll be talking matters health, and we are going to be communicating non-communicable diseases. These are diseases that are not transmissible from one person to the other. There are several of them, but how about we narrow it down to one for today? That is diabetes. We're going to be looking at the prevention of diabetes, the management of it, and everything around diabetes. And this is your chance to get to ask a professional a question on diabetes. So what question do you have concerning diabetes? Do you know someone who's suffering from diabetes? Are you yourself battling with diabetes? This is the place where you get to answer whichever question you may be having concerning diabetes. And then our number is 0716 103 301. 0716 103 301. That's our WhatsApp line, and it is open, so you can begin sending those questions, as I will be joined in studio by one Dr. Daniel Katambo, who's a consultant physician and the founder and CEO, Afya Code Limited. He's also a trainer, diabetes remission. He will be here to answer all of those questions, so do not hold yourself back. If you've got any question, go ahead and shoot it, as he will be ensuring that he gets to answer all your questions. That will be coming to you at exactly 9 a.m. So stay with us. Mike?
That is very interesting, Vivian, because diabetes is one of the diseases. It's what is considered a lifestyle disease.
Yeah.
And, you know, back in the day, people used to think that these diseases are restricted to people of advanced age. But nowadays you find that even the younger generation is grappling with lifestyle diseases, including diabetes. So I think this is very timely to talk about that. And also, we're looking forward to hearing from you in regards to your questions and contributions. Away from that, a lot has been happening within the political landscape within the country. And some of the things that have happened. Yesterday, the governors had a meeting to deliberate on matters to do with the e-procurement system. And they ended up saying they reject the directive by the president to adopt the procurement system. They claim that the process seems to be rushed, and that might affect operations or service delivery within the counties. We hope we shall keep tabs on that as it happens, and we'll be informing you as it happens. Now, when matters to do with fighting corruption, yesterday we saw some governors, that is Bomet Governor Hilary Barchok, and ex-governor, that is Wycliffe Wangamati, were arrested of alleged misappropriation of county funds and by the EACC, and that will be continuing. And as it happens, we shall be informing you. And when it comes to matters health, the CS Health, that is Aden Duale, did forward over 1,000 files to the DCI for investigation. This regards the claims, the fraudulent claims, which amounted to 10.6 billion, which the ministry says it had intercepted. And now the investigations are underway, and we shall be following that to inform you accordingly. Today I want us to take a look at Kenya's fiscal discipline and economic stability, given that Kenya is one of the fastest rising and growing economies within Africa. But then again, there is the issue of fiscal discipline and economic stability. Where do we stand? I'll be having that conversation with CPA Ken Odongo, who is the director of Business College. That is Focus Business College, and also Peter Njeru, who is a financial consultant. That is a conversation that is coming to you from around 7 right here on Good Morning Kenya. But before we even get to that, I want us to have the quote for today. Today being a Tuesday, Now, the quote says, the only limit to our realization of tomorrow will be our doubts of today. The only limit to our realization of tomorrow will be our doubts of today. That is a quote by Franklin D. Roosevelt. Indeed.
Beautiful quote right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think everybody needs to believe in themselves and cast away doubts and believe that
live in the now.
Exactly.
I mean, don't worry too much about tomorrow. Live in the now. Make today work.
Yes.
And then we'll think about tomorrow, a day at a time.
Yes. I also think it ties down to what you were discussing yesterday about self-valuation.
Exactly.
You know, when it comes to doubts, you start doubting yourself. Your self-esteem is likely to go low. And when your self-esteem goes low, self-confidence goes out the window.
Absolutely. And you just, you know, that's how it happens.
Yes.
The minute you decide that you're doubting yourself, you're just doubting yourself. You're doubting your ability to make it. You're doubting your ability to be able to solve issues. You're doubting your ability to be able to move forward from whatever it is that maybe you may be grappling with. That's when you lose it. So just remain confident in yourself and live in the now. That's the most proper thing.
Yes.
Just live a day at a time,
Yes.
one step at a time. Even when you get to when you have a staircase, I mean, you don't just jump to the final floor.
Exactly.
You move from one staircase to the other, and eventually you get to where you're going. So yes.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that everything will be easy, but then again, you need to cast out doubts and think about what you're about to achieve. Think about what the feeling that you'll get once you reach where you want to be. You will see that it was worth it.
Absolutely.
And indeed, let me take you through the front pages of what is captured on our local dailies. I'll start with the Standard. Big economy lie. That is what is captured on the front page of the Standard newspaper. When Treasury paints a rosy picture with its upbeat forecasts, the truth is that Kenyans are still staring at empty wallets, stalled dreams, and shrinking dignity. Numbers don't lie, but they can mislead unless growth translates into jobs, income, and real wealth. We are simply being sold GDP without a meal on the table. The CS ought to put people before statistics and reimagine the economy not as an elite casino but as a values-driven project of shared prosperity. That story is told on page 8 and 9 of the Standard newspaper. Putting up a show, Duale DCI smile for the cameras in graft war. Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale tried to wash his hands of the SHA scandal, theatrically dumping files on the DCI before the press, but refused to take questions because of the now tired and age-old excuse that answers might, quote-unquote, jeopardize investigations. That story is told on page 2 of the Standard newspaper. It is a tough time being a parent or school head. When education is reduced to political pledges, parents to cash machines, and learners to collateral, the dream of free schooling turns into an illusion and a burden for caregivers. That story is fleshed out in page 4 and 5 of the Standard newspaper. That is what is captured on the front page of the Standard newspaper. Vivian?
All right, with me is a copy of the Daily Nation, and the headline reads, Raila fights to rescue Sakaja. Raila fights to rescue Sakaja. Now, signaling collaboration in the broad-based government, ODM leader Raila Odinga has gone into overdrive to scuttle a plot by Nairobi County Assembly members to impeach Governor Johnson Sakaja, who was elected on a UDA ticket. Now, the game of numbers here, 41 are the number required 1/3 of the House to introduce the impeachment motion, 123 the total number of Nairobi MCAs following the death of Kariobangi North Joel Munuve in April, 87 MCAs who have signed the draft motion to impeach the governor, and 82 two-thirds majority that is needed to send Sakaja to trial by Senate. And that is a story that has been fleshed out really nicely on page 4 of the Daily Nation. Still on the top page of the Daily Nation, you have governors defy Ruto to public tenders system, and that story is on page 6. Another story right here, more houses touched in Mau Narok clashes. As the story has been fleshed out on page 10. We also have a story on schools sending students home as state delays wiring funds. And there's a breakdown of the 2025 capitation that is supposed to cater for 3,280,182 learners in Kenyan shillings. They have put it down in terms of the terms, expected money that should be paid per learner, and the balance that is remaining. They have properly put it down there, so if you get yourself a copy of the Daily Nation, you will be able to check that out. TikTok gives Kenyan artists new features but no pay yet. That is a story that is on page 2 of the Daily Nation, and on page 3 we have the future of fashion, how AI is dressing up Kenya's style scene. And there's a story there of how AI is dressing up Kenya's style scene. They have gotten to speak to a number of models and fashion designers from the country, and they have given their side of the story as well. One more story before we get to see what this star has in store. UDA ODM Mal joined tickets in mini polls to avoid rivalry. President William Ruto's United Democratic Alliance and Raila Odinga's Orange Democratic Movement are considering fielding joint candidates in some of the forthcoming by-elections to avert possible fallout between the two partner parties. That is a story that is on page 8 of the Daily Nation. What's on the Star, Mike?
Before I even take you to the Star, there's a story on the back page of the Standard about sports. Kenya pick up Chan 24 pieces ahead of World Cup qualifiers. Harambee Stars captain Olunga upbeat ahead of World Cup qualifiers because Kenya will face Gambia and Seychelles from September 5 at Kasarani. Harambee Stars captain Michael Olunga has backed Kenya to put up a strong fight in the upcoming 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers against the Gambia and Seychelles. Olunga, who will once again lead the national team's attack, said the players are motivated to give their best despite the slim chances of qualifying. Of course, we wish them the best in their upcoming matches against the Seychelles and the Gambia. Let's look at what is making headlines on the front page of the Star newspaper. State farms bleed public coffers dry. This is what is being reported on the front page of the Star newspaper. Most are insolvent after piling up massive losses. There's a tabulation that is given here. Parastatals in the red, that is within the red deficit bracket. It is tabulated here. KBC 89 billion, Ketraco 16 billion, Post Bank 14 billion, NOC 11 billion, Postal Corporation 7.7 billion, all the way to New KCC with 1.6 billion. That is a story you can read on page 4 and 5 of the Star newspaper. Rehema's passion for trade started as a survival tactic. That is a story that is told on page 11. Growing up in a single parent's home, the 26-year-old Rehema Chivatsi was forced to assume adult responsibility prematurely. She had to assume motherly responsibilities for her 4 siblings. Read that story on page 11 of the Star newspaper. Kenya Police Service, the most complained about arm of the National Police Service. That story is told on page 2. The new report signals declining trust in the Kenya Police Service. Reports highlights growing public concern over misconduct and inaction. More than 3/4 of all complaints made against the police officers in Kenya last year were directed at the Kenya Police Service. A new report has shown. Read that story on page 2 of the Star newspaper. The story about parastatals bleeding coffers dry. A report by the Auditor General has exposed alarming financial state of dozens of state corporations, especially those in the energy, agriculture and industrial sectors. The review reveals entities that are technically bankrupt and surviving solely on government bailouts and taxpayer-funded debt, casting severe doubt on their ability to continue operation. Read that story on page 4 and 5 of the Star newspaper. How supreme law has been twisted to fit political agenda. Experts say it is being twisted, bent and reinterpreted to serve partisan interests. The country's constitution, hailed as one of the most progressive documents in the region, is increasingly under siege by the custodians entrusted to defend it. Read that story on page 6 of the Star newspaper. One more story. Spotlight. Our Senate hears 19 impeachments in 12 years. Last week, senators had the impeachment motion against Governor Mutai. Rising wave of impeachments targeting governors and their deputies has shifted attention to the management of the county government and the uneasy relationship between assemblies and executive. Remember the recent impeachment motion was against Kericho Governor Eric Mutai, but he survived the motion. He pleaded his case during the hearings in Senate, and he survived the impeachment motion. That is what is captured on the front page of the Star. Do you have one more story as
All right, I guess I can do around 2 more stories before we wrap up our newspaper review. Now, Ruto bid to resolve Yala Swamp land row. President William Ruto has moved to mediate the dispute over Yala Swamp in Siaya County, where local communities are clashing with investors over control of the vast farmland. The swamp, considered one of the most productive arable areas in Siaya, has long attracted investment interest, but successive disputes have stalled its potential. Now, that story is on page 8 of the Daily Nation. Fresh clashes erupt in Musho Alami. The tension remained high in Musho Alami on the border of Narok and Nakuru counties after 3 more houses were torched on Sunday evening, escalating clashes between 2 rival communities that have persisted for 3 days. That's a story that is on page 10. Rex Masai inquest. Court secures police firearms registers. The inquest into the death of Rex Masai has taken a dramatic turn after the Milimani Law Courts ordered the 2 firearms movement registers be kept in a safe to prevent interference. This follows an admission by their custodian, Corporal Frederick Okapesi, that he altered entries of firearms issued to police officers deployed during the Gen Z-led protest of June 18th, 2024. I guess that is all we have for you today. Matters newspaper review, so you can go ahead and get yourself a copy of either the Daily Nation, the Standard or the Star this morning, just to get to know more of what has been highlighted on the papers this morning.
Indeed, indeed. I think it's time to take a short breather as we come back with people and politics. Stay with us.
wewe ndio mwizi. Sema tu, uone ni mlevi.
Nini imefika hapa?
Nadhani ni venye school fees yako inamsumbua.
Daddy, nini umekuja?
Allah,
Nini mbaya?
Daddy.
nini? Elijah, wewe.
Nika.
Hakuna mahali imeandikwa mimi ndio nitamaliza umaskini wa familia yenu.
Ile kitu anafanya na Pastor John.
Nyamaza. Nitacheka mimi.
This is maternal mortality. Why are women still dying from preventable causes during pregnancy and childbirth? And what can be done to stop this?
I call it a polycrisis. It's many crises that are colliding. And at the end of the day, who is suffering is a woman. So we are losing, I say 17, but I say that with a with that pinch of salt because that is on average.
I had a patient when I was working in Moranga,
Yes,
who came to deliver, and she needed an emergency cesarean section. She refused to sign consent until her husband came.
Oh dear.
And then we ended up with what we call an IUFD.
We witness a mother dying. There's nothing you can really do because there's no syringe. You are like 10 mothers delivering at the same time, and there's only 2 nurses on duty or 2 midwives on duty.
Maternal mortality is contributed by so many factors, but it's purely pinned on the health system.
It's everyone's business to invest in maternal care because the return for investments benefits everyone. And so we must be intentional in investing in maternal health.
They say the art without art would just be, get it? We circumnavigate the globe and traverse the local scene to bring you art and culture at their very best. From fine art, culinary art, performing arts, and even cultural events, you name it, and we have got you covered. My name is Kevin Kasioki, and I will be serving you this and much, much more each and every Friday at 8 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. This is People and Politics. My name is Mike Migwe. Now we talk about matters economy, and we're looking at Kenya's fiscal discipline and economic stability. Given that Kenya is one of the fastest rising growing economies within Africa, especially sub-Saharan Africa. But despite that, there are challenges, significant challenges when it comes to managing its debt. Matters to do with corruption has plagued the country for a long time. So how do we achieve this fiscal discipline? How do we achieve all that? And in studio, I'm joined by CPA Ken Odongo, who is the director of Focus Business College. Welcome to Good Morning Kenya.
Thank you so much.
And also Mr. Peter Njero, who is a financial consultant. You're not new to Jerusalem. You've come here several times.
Yes, I'm not new here.
Yes.
Good morning, viewers.
Yes. You look at what we are about to talk about, then you look at what is reported on the front page of The Standard. Big economy lie when Treasury paints a rosy picture with its upbeat forecasts. The truth is that Kenyans are still staring at empty wallets, stalled dreams, and shrinking dignity. Numbers don't lie, but they can mislead. Unless growth translates into jobs, incomes, and real wealth, we are simply being sold GDP without a meal on the table. The CS ought to put people before statistics and reimagine the economy not as an elite casino, but as a values-driven project of shared prosperity. Let me start with you, Peter. How would we achieve what you'd call, as a country now, financial discipline?
For a nation to achieve financial discipline, and talking about our country, Kenya, first we have to play by the rules you've set for our fiscal policies. Fiscal policy is all about how the government intends to spend the money, the taxes collected in critical areas of economic development. Call it roads, call it health, call it education, security, etc. And therefore, for us to advance as an economy, we have to really declare or set out our fiscal policy and manage our economy by it. And that is actually the A to Z of our economic development, that we have to stick to the rules, to the policies we've set ourselves, because we have very good policies. But the problem is that at the implementation stage, things tend to go south. However, I must admit that there is now a clear need to play by the rules of the book, and that's how we have seen the government declaring openly and publicly that the war on corruption going forward will be real, will be fast, and the culprits will be brought to book.
Odongo, what do you think? Because on one hand, the government says the economy is growing, but on the other hand, you have some Kenyans saying it's not translating into our pockets.
Sure. Indeed, I must agree with the statement, just to also just emphasize that whenever we talk about fiscal responsibility or fiscal discipline, we basically touches on two aspects. That is the taxes and the expenditure, which is very key.
Yes.
How we strictly and responsible to public finance management and make it very sustainable. Before I delve deep, I want to talk about aspect of what we need when you talk about fiscal policy. You know, we need to act on the aspect of expenditure control. How do we spend on priority areas? We need to touch on revenue mobilization. How do we collect the taxes effectively? You know, deficit management, because issues to do with the deficit and the loan debt level at the current time is extremely high and burdening Kenyans. If you look at statistics, particularly, you know, a third of Kenyan revenue is basically going back to spending on the interest. We look at issues to do with accountability and transparency, corruption issues. Kenya are feeling it. As scholars, whenever we talk about per capita income and GDP, those are estimation. In actual real sense, when you look at the life of Kenyans, you know, it doesn't translate. And I do agree. And that is now the issue that we need to tap on those aspects of fiscal discipline in order for Kenyans to feel the impact of what we're doing, the government is doing for them. And so
How do you balance taxation with discipline? Because on one hand, people feel like, yes, we are paying taxes, but it's a little bit extra. But then again, we do not, there's something we are lacking in terms of how we utilize the money. How do we balance that?
There's a need for accountability. In order for us to balance it, there's need for accountability. Making sure that those that are put in positions of authority, you know, actually make sure that the money goes to where it's needed. That will give a balance towards, you know, Kenyans feeling what they need. Because why am I not feeling the effect of my taxes is because my taxes at the end of the day does not end up in where it needs to go up. So in order to balance it, we have to make sure that the taxes that are basically collected, you know, and also if you look at a study, you know, in terms of like how much goes into even exemptions, you know, tax exemptions, how much billions that are collected that goes back to exemptions, you know, refunds, you know. If you tap on that and make Kenyans feel and make it to priority areas, that would be a very good avenue to balance tax and people to feel the effect of taxes.
Yes. Mr. Peter, when it comes to tax exemptions, does it create an effect in how we use our monies or how we collect revenue? Or what are the implications of having too many tax exemptions?
Tax exemption is one of the ways of encouraging tax compliance. Tax exemption is one of the known ways of motivating taxpayers to be compliant in tax matters. And tax exemption also serves to also bring on board people that are less privileged in the society to be able to access products, government products and services that would otherwise have been out of reach because of the element of tax on those products and services. And therefore, talking about tax exemption, it is a good way to streamline access to government services and also various products. For example, there are people who are disabled and their mobility is affected by their inability to be mobile. And therefore, government offers tax exemption on their vehicles. Vehicles are specially designed for use by people with disabilities. And therefore, exempting such tax is a step in the right direction in the sense that it will assist this one citizen to be productive, to be mobile. And therefore, tax exemption is a good thing, but again, it requires to be properly managed so that it is made accessible only to the people or group of people that really need that facility. So in my perspective, it is a good idea to exempt tax to various products, raw materials that will facilitate production and create jobs, encourage investment, increase access to basic consumer goods at the market because the tax was exempted on raw materials. So therefore, tax exemption is a good way to have progress in economic advancement.
CP, again, you look at critical sector like health, then you hear the kind of scandals that are cropping up. The other day, the CS said that they flagged up over 10.6 billion worth of claims that were being, worth of fraudulent claims that were being demanded by some health facilities. But then again, you look at it from a point of the economic impact on it. The focus, if you are to focus on key areas like health and education, how do we ensure that we give the right amount to these sectors, whereas still, on the other hand, making sure that other sectors are not left out?
Sure.
Yes.
That is a very good question. You know, as a scholar who is in the education sector, again, one of the things that we cry for is that, you know, a lot of resources at least going in these areas to impact a generation, because we realize that the government may never absorb the whole youth into the system. Where do they fall now? They basically have to follow the private sector. So when I hear news, for example, that the government basically not being there's pilferage in the health sector, one of the questions as a stakeholder in the education sector that I ask, what happens to the education sector? Why was this being able to be tapped? You know, at least some part of it to go into education sector, because that is an area that we are impacting young Kenyans to basically come up and create more jobs and basically build the economy, which is a big question that we have here, to build our economy and make it grow. So the government actually need to balance, you know, instead of, you know, allowing a lot of loopholes in the health sectors and us losing a lot of money, then there needs to be efficient systems. You know, the problem is the systems. The systems in operations, you know, needs to be very effective to tap onto these things so that we are not able to lose, but at least put a substantial amount, not for going other sector, but put a substantial amount on the education sector and even the health sector, which are very crucial towards the growth of an economy.
Peter, if you look at it, matters accountability, because you both have mentioned matters to do with accountability. Then the issue of loopholes and those who utilize loopholes. Is it about going for those who utilize loopholes, or is just a matter of fixing the loopholes?
Both. It's a matter of fixing the loopholes and also going for those that exploit those loopholes. Looking at the current scenario in our economy, there is a big debate right now about the e-procurement. And there is, here on one side is the minister and of course the executive who are really rooting for e-procurement is a best tool to reduce corruption. And we have, yesterday I was listening to the governors who are vigorously opposing the introduction of e-procurement model of government services. And when you look at it, the whole world is getting digital. And therefore, if the government is incrementally digitizing its services, it is the way to go, not only in Kenya, but all over the world. We are turning towards appreciating technology as a tool to efficiency in service delivery, efficiency in all aspects of our living. And therefore, the loopholes that e-procurement is going to solve are those ones of, like you've made a supply to a government agency, but simply because you don't know someone in those high offices, you realize you will not be prioritized for payment. You supplied last year, you're not paid. Someone who supplied yesterday is paid. Someone who supplied tomorrow is paid. And therefore, the e-procurement is queuing, is first and foremost, it is bringing the information to the public domain that the government is in the process of procuring 1, 2, 3 product or services. Once the tender has been issued, you have supplied, you also queued for payment, so that they use the principle of fast in, fast out at all levels. So if you supplied yesterday, you cannot be paid today, while there's someone who supplied last week and is still pending for payment. So e-procurement kind of brings this professionalism to really great public scrutiny. And therefore, e-procurement is one of the ways of inculcating professionalism in government service delivery. So when you see some government officers against it, you wonder which direction they want us to go. They want us to remain manual forever. If I were them, if I were at a privileged place to advise them, I would tell them, okay, run the two systems, don't just switch overnight. Let them run parallel for some time as you learn the weaknesses on the e-procurement platform. Probably after 3, 4, 5, 6 months, you will have sealed all those loopholes and then drop the manual system, come fully on board to the e-procurement system. Because surely embracing technology is the way to go, not only for government, but also for the private sector. Not only for the private sector, but for individual way of life. The life we are living today, we cannot exclude ourselves from being influenced and being served through technological platforms. Therefore, as we talk about government services and fiscal policy, embracing IT, these AI, all these things, they will actually help us provide the services better. They will help us protect our taxes better. They will help us even collect more taxes and probably have a possibility in future to reduce the taxes.
Odongo, do you agree that with what Peter has said, and let's say looking at the e-procurement that is being debated about by governors at the national government, is it the magic wand when it comes to the management of public finance?
A very interesting area when it comes to public finance. That's an area that I'm heavily invested in, just to see how do we basically manage public finances. But to start with, every system, there is not 100% efficiency. We always say in audit that a system can never be 100% efficient, but constantly we have to basically improve the system. I'll first of all maybe just delve into the positives of e-procurement. One of it is efficiency in terms of paperwork. We are reducing the huge amount of paperwork that has been there in terms of procurement in the public sectors. But again, also we are bringing the aspect of transparency, in terms of, we are able to monitor these procurements, which one came first, which one should be paid, and definitely they should be much order on the aspect of procurement. But just to look at, what is the issue in, is it the system, is it the individuals, and who should we hold accountable? As we tap onto the system and basically make the system also better, we also need to put those that are tasked with the responsibility responsible, accountable for what they do. I believe as we work on these things, again, also it's something that is on process that all of us have to tap into. Because when you talk about efficiency in terms of government, it's a responsibility of me, you, and others, even the viewers who are watching us, to put those that are tasked with the responsibility accountable to what they're doing. I think it's a good direction that we are heading to as we go to e-procurement. And again, it will take some time as we supplement it to the paperwork to see how better we can make it. But it's a good step towards bringing a lot of issues of procurement much better.
How should it be rolled out? Should it be a one-time thing, like all counties should adopt this starting now, or it should be piloted in several counties?
First of all, I think it should be piloted just to a study so that we can see how better. But as I said again, when you are talking about a system cannot just be efficiently done at once. It's something that, even constantly, even after 2 years of rollout, it is something that we have to constantly look at to tap and make it better. That is when you talk about systems.
Indeed. Yeah. Now, we look at the debt and growth balance within Kenya, and we do spend quite a good amount of the revenue that we have in paying debts. But then again, here's the question, Peter. Fiscal consolidation, is it possible that we achieve this and also ensure that the economy is growing?
Debt repayment or debt payment is part of economic development because those debts that are being repaid it is presumed that the debt have been invested in economic development, in making available good infrastructure, providing good health services, all those. And therefore, debt repayment economic development cannot be really attained by isolating debt repayment. But the question is, how have we invested those debts? What has been said to have gone into corruption? I remember the former president saying that the country loses 2 billion shillings daily on corruption. That's the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yes.
So are we paying debts that have been stolen? But assuming that the debt you are paying has been properly utilized and well invested in economic development, then debt payment becomes a critical aspect of our economic advancement. And therefore, what we want to say is that, for a nation to progress, it has to really work towards reducing the level of corruption, especially the level we see in our country, whereby it is said 30% of our budgeted revenue goes into people's pockets. And the current push to really fight corruption, by all means, is the way to go. I remember in our previous conversation in this show, I said that because Kenya has now realized we cannot continue business as usual, whereby every time the government needed to collect more revenue, it turns to tax increment. I said that trend, a time has come for that trend to stop. A time has come now to think more about tax management, not tax increment. And we observed that going forward, we will see more war on corruption because there is no way the country can manage tax without fighting corruption. And we are systematically seeing that piece on war on corruption becoming more pronounced and more evident. And therefore, from where I sit now, I am full of positivity that if this war on corruption is supported by every Kenyan, which I support, our country, going forward, we will have more resources available for development. Our country, going forward, will be able even to reduce some taxes. Because when we have more tax available for development, the tax we so much complain about is high. Some of it can be reduced. Especially, I see a possibility where the housing levy can be reduced. I see a possibility where these share levy 2.75% can be reduced probably in the years to come. Because if war on corruption is fought and so much money goes into leakages through corruption, if that money is not corruptly acquired by a few individuals, it means the country will be able to have sufficient amount of money to run its affairs, to develop road network, to develop educational, to fund education system, and to fund health system without overtaxing or over-collecting of tax.
You know, corruption deals quite a big blow to an economy. And Kenyans have witnessed scandals within the country. But then again, you've talked about tax management, dealing tax management and versus tax increment. As of now, will that work and will it help in terms of achieving fiscal discipline? And number two, Odongo, do you think Kenyans really have, do they trust that the fight against corruption that is going on right now will yield results?
Another perfect question. You know, when you talk about corruption, I did, when I started, you talked about exemption, which I want to clarify maybe a few things, you know, exemptions and refund. Exemptions are particularly a good thing, but part of the exemptions, you know, the way that we address exemption is also very key. You know, how we address exemption is really key. But again, part of the exemptions, especially on areas where exemptions, you know, can be tapped on, you know, such money can be tapped into building critical sectors that can actually basically take an economy towards greater heights is very important. But back to the question, you know, on issues to do with corruption. We are feeling the heat, you know, and Kenya's felt it, but I must also agree that we are taking a step, and it's a journey that me and you have to actually play a critical role. You know, what is a critical role? You know, when we see aspect of our leaders, you know, the MCAs, you know, the MPs, the governors, you know, we must actually pinpoint these areas and address these areas, because we are number one. You know, we can't actually just look at the government and say that, you know, things are not working and we do nothing. So in as much as we talk about it, we also need to play a critical role in pinpointing as scholars, you know, as one of the areas that I did talk about, I'm heavily invested into education sector, which I highly think that if we are able to tap on issues of corruption and actually, you know, make sure that we put the leaders who are in force accountable, and we put more money into the economy, you know, into education sector, into health, a lot of our problem, you know, in terms of skill, you know, because as I said, you know, one of the issues, you know, we are not basically going to tap everybody into the government job. And actually the role of government is to make, is basically to provide services. If a government provides a platform for me and you, the taxes that are collected, the opportunities, you know, the opportunities that are created, you know, the many things that are going, the investment, you know, youths are able to access loans, you know, we are able to put the police who are collecting bribes on a broad daylight accountable, you know, as passengers. And when we see them doing that, we say this is no. We are not going to allow that, you know. As a government also play its crucial part in the elements that are involved, you know, taking a crucial part. I believe the future is going to be brighter, and I believe it's going to be better. And we heavily invest that money into the private sector that is actually offering a lot to the young ones. Remember, the future is these young ones, you know. If we empower them with skills, we don't have to ask big questions. We are suffering. Why do we have unrest? Because we don't feel money in our pockets. And young people are feeling the heat currently. So again, corruption, for me, I say it's something that we have to step up and refuse corruption. We have to step up and say no to corruption. But again, in levels where we work, in offices where we have to work, you know, because when you look at corruption, I think we actually narrow it a lot. There's also corruption in all sectors. You look at education, look at the health sector, look at individual levels, you know, in small responsibility where you find people refuses to be accountable. So these are things that at our own level, we must do something.
All right.
Yes.
Indeed, we are talking about Kenya's fiscal discipline and economic stability, and this conversation will continue shortly after this break. Stay with us.
Saka, you're so heartless. Wah, wah.
That doesn't give you the reason to go and make everybody your enemy. Sawa?
That's enough. Relax.
Unasema nini wewe? Mimi nilikutuma uwe anyone.
Mimi siko na uoga.
Zikani. Kai. Kwani ni mwaka mzima?
That is as per assignment.
You think we don't know you went to meet up with your mom? A woman who wants all of us down.
Greetings in the name of the Most High, Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice,
we have to do it twice.
Want to enjoy free-to-air digital TV with crystal clear quality? Here's how to get started with Signet. Step 1. If you have a smart TV, you're good to go. If not, get yourself a digital set-top box. Next, connect your set-top box to an aerial and the aerial to your TV. Use RCA cables, yellow for video, red and white for audio, or simply plug in an HDMI cable for high-quality sound and picture. Now, do an auto search on your TV. Just follow the prompts on the screen. And that's it. You're now tuned in to Signet. Sit back and enjoy a wide range of free-to-air digital channels. For technical inquiries, call the Signet hotline on 0770 572 656.
Yeah, the conversation continues even off air. But welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. This is People and Politics. We are talking about Kenya's fiscal discipline and economic stability. And if you look at it from an investor's point of view, Mr. Peter, currently, as a country, are we inspiring investor confidence where we are right now?
I have no doubt that our country right now is quite inspiring, not only to the investors, but also to every person who has access to credible information. When we look at the key indicators for economic development, for an economy that is taxiing for takeoff.
Yes.
First of all, you look at the stability of the Kenyan shillings. It has retained a very impressive level for the last long time. I remember preceding 2022, the shilling was at all-time weakest, going towards 180 shillings mark to the dollar. Today, it is oscillating between 128, 129, 130 there. That's impressive. And that's something that has been achieved by great and meticulous planning in terms of looking at our fiscal policies. So it is working. The other thing that is inspiring confidence is that preceding 2022, we were hearing of all sorts of stories that the Chinese government is on the verge of taking up the port of Mombasa because the country has defaulted on its debt obligations. That story somehow from 2023, 2024, the story died out. It means that the default level that was there, that was so high, has been managed to an acceptable level. And therefore, that tells you that Kenya has now been able to stabilize and to get to a place where it can be able to comfortably finance its debt, international debt portfolio. The other thing that inspires confidence to anyone who is able to see the true picture is that prices of most basic commodities has reduced and stabilized at a lower level than it previously used to be. These are good stories that we are hearing. One of the things I also want to observe is that sometimes when we talk about economic stability, it does not overnight translate to money in the wallet overnight. Like you would stand by a microwave and get tea ready in 30 seconds. It takes time, and therefore what is called for is patience. Because going forward, and I am sure as we go towards next year, there will be more relaxes in various areas. The current empowerment programs by the government, whatever form they are taking, they are also a step in the right direction. About a month ago, I saw various CBUs in Nairobi go for those empowerment activities at State House. And I saw them being given equipment to do business startups. These are CBUs, not individuals. And empowering the people at the bottom of pyramid is one of the key areas of making sure there is money in their wallet. Because once the government does a very good road and does a very good facility, it is good. But that by itself does not translate to money in the pocket of Wanjiku. But when Wanjiku has been given equipment to start a small fish and chips kiosk near her residence, when Wanjiku has been given welding equipment, when Wanjiku has been given car wash machines, that is really job creation not only for Wanjiku, but also for her neighbors. And therefore, a good road will be able, a good road coupled to those equipment being made available to the ordinary person will be able to make that person access market and customers more easily. And so I am one of the Kenyans who are confident that though things are not rosy right now, in the days and years to come, I expect things to start gravitating in the right direction, in the sense that the people at the bottom of the pyramid will say, for sure, this car wash, this business, this low cost of power is really fueling my economic advancement. Of course, as we speak now, there are areas that are challenging, that everyone is concerned, especially the talk around SHA, the talk around free primary education capitation, the talk around university funding model. All those are important conversations for us to have. But it's also important to also reflect on where we have come from, where we are, and where we want to go. Like we were observing here, there's no system that is 100%. When our children do exams like KCSE, KCP, whatever exam, you realize with 80% you have an A. So it doesn't mean that you're absolutely good, but you've been given all the marks because you've done well. 80% is not 100%, but again, you get all the 12 points as straight A. So in the same way, we are saying there is plenty of room for improvement, and there are areas that we are gravitating in the right direction. We need to encourage that. Areas that we need improvement, we need to also focus on them and cite them objectively and provide alternative practical solutions so that the country can move forward. Let's also agree that when we are coming from ICU, I remember the former deputy president also told us that when they took power, the country was in ICU. When a patient is in ICU and is on recovery path, he doesn't jump from ICU bed to the football pitch. He has to really come from ICU to HDU to the ward, then to the bed at home, and then for the bed at home, walk around the compound, later walk into the neighborhood. Probably you see him in the football pitch a year later. But let's agree it is a patient who is on recovery path. So that is what every Kenyan needs to be able to embrace and agree. Economically speaking, not politically speaking, this though, economically speaking, the country is on correct trajectory.
You said something here, and when it comes to empowerment that you've talked about, and Ondongo, someone would argue, if systems were working, would Kenyans result, or would Kenyans need empowerment programs?
A very perfect question. Just to amplify, on economic stability. Again, the two aspects. We are in a time that we find a huge percentage of people are very pessimistic, and a lot of time when there's a lot of pessimism, even the little hope that is there actually vanishes. That's we in such a state. But a very crucial conversation is the man on the ground. The man on the ground. That's a very crucial conversation. Does he feel it? And how do you make the man actually on the bottom of the pyramid feel the effect of economic stability? Because as we talk, one of the things as we talk about economic per capita income in GDP, I always say that these are basically estimation. They don't really a real measure of what happens, but we look at figures, which maybe could have been concentrated with a smaller percentage of economy that are wealthy, contributing to it. But does the smaller man actually feel that? That is the big question. So a lot of this, again, one of the big issues that I always tap into: how do you make the small man, the man at the bottom, feel the effect? Do we need empowerment? Back to the question, do we really need empowerment if all systems were working? Yes, we need. A practical example. The system, sometimes, we are looking at a student who has all the books, but without a teacher to actually tell him there's a good book to look at, that will not work. So empowerment is a journey that we must actually, incorporate. Because still, in as much as the government will still put systems in order, just as Bwananjeru has depicted. It did. If you look at the economy from where we've come from, there's, the prices are stabling. There's a sustainable growth, despite issues on capitalization, on schools and sectors, issues of shares. But if you look at it on economic aspect, there's at least we're moving. But as I said, that we are living at a time where we are even very sensitive, because we are living at a time that a lot of people are disillusioned. So again, one of the big things that I was actually looking at is the people at the bottom. Empowerment would work extremely well. And as I emphasize, as a stakeholder in the education sector, I think this is a very good tool. This is a very good tool. We haven't just really looked at it, because education is about empowerment, getting to fixing people to see their potential. So even if systems were in place and people are not aware of their potential, they will still have problems. We need to get the smaller man, the man at the bottom, understanding his or her potential. Yes.
But Peter, you look at the fiscal rules, that's the numerical limits and rules set by the government in terms of how to manage expenditure and borrowing. Are they effective enough to guarantee a long-term economic stability?
From where we stand as a country, I would prescribe that we do not need to really look very far for our economy to take off. We need to look within ourselves and be able to identify areas of tax leakages. We need to look within ourselves and be able to identify the areas that have, over the years, not been brought on board to be within the tax bracket, so that at the end of the day, we are spreading the net wider, not really squeezing the few fish that are already in the net. So that when we spread the net wider, it will become possible to really lower the tax on those that have previously, over the years, be on the tax platform. So when you look at the borrowing policies, I would really want to turn a blind eye on focusing more on re-engineering our borrowing policy and look at how best we can manage that which we can collect internally. I remember very well some years back, I was much younger then. I don't know where you were that time in the year 2002 when David Mwiraria was the Minister for Finance.
I was somewhere.
He read a budget for 500 million. I'll never fail to cite that situation. 500 billion. That point, we all like, that's a way too high budget. And there was a slogan to promote, to have the free, corruption-free zones in every government installation, every government office. And I think even up to now, those billboards still remain in all government offices. They say it's a free corruption zone. And someone was joking and saying that is what invites people to corruption. Because the moment you tell a child, don't eat that sugar, it kind of draws the attention to the sugar and the desire to eat it.
But does that really prevent, will that signboard really prevent people from?
Yeah, okay. So therefore, what I think is a way to go is to think about how do we manage that which we have? How do we enhance tax collection, not necessarily tax increment, tax collection and tax management, so that at the end of the day, whatever tax we collect is prudently managed and zero tolerance on corruption is put within our DNA, so that all tax collected goes to providing services to our people. This way, I had observed earlier that we can get to a point where we can fund our own budget. We don't have to look at ways of bridging our budget deficits through debt. So that's my take on thinking about reviewing budgetary deficits.
Do you think we can manage our own budget as a country?
A very perfect question, but I was picking a number of things as Peter was talking. You know, the whole issue around taxes, and I was like, you know, there's a very important aspect of, you know, if I ask today, do we, even in the room, do we understand taxes in the first place? That is the first conversation. Whenever we're in class and whenever we are doing consultancy on taxes, issues to do with taxes, part of issues, in as much as KRA has done a little bit of that part, people still don't understand taxes. No wonder if you see a client will receive even a Christmas message from Kenya Revenue Authority and immediately calls the tax consultants. What is this? Without even opening. So number one, do we even understand what taxes are? Even before we put people into the tax bracket. I think there's a conversation that is continuous on areas pertaining to taxes, because a lot of people, the people who are doing business, they don't know even the taxes that are liable for. Many people, I would say very many people, the individuals who are doing business without paying taxes, but because they're not aware. So when you talk about taxes, yes, we are able to collect taxes and collect and manage our economy. But again, we need to have a conversation now on taxes. And this conversation is not only on KRA. And that's why, you know, we have to step in. Government has to step in, you know, on areas where we can provide services. You know, you can get, you know, providing services for these young ones to step into education sectors and learn, because that's an area that they can also tap into, these sections that do not understand taxes. But tax is a good area. How do we get these taxes? You know, do people understand taxes? And once we collect these taxes, how do we efficiently tap the resources? That has to do with the implementation. But here is where we have had a conversation that how this money that has been collected, how do we make sure that it has gone to the real use?
Exactly.
That is now the issue, the big question in the room. Has it gone to the real use? And I'm seeing in the future that if, you know, we are growing a nation that is becoming accountable, you know, every continuously, you know, people are demanding accountability, and it's a good step. It's not a bad step. It's a good step when a nation demands accountability. And you're looking forward for a nation that we will be able to say that, you know, we are electing leaders who are able to be accountable to us. You know, because that's, accountability will make sure that the revenue that is collected, the taxes that are collected, are actually put to good use. Why do we have a deficit? One of the reasons is that we have a deficit because the taxes that have been collected have gone into individuals' pocket. That is why one reason why we have a deficit. But over time, Kenya can really sustain itself if we tap what we collect and make sure that it goes to use, and make sure that we don't leave a lot, you know, leaving loopholes, taking the money that has been collected through taxes. But again, also very importantly, we need to have a conversation with Kenyans on issues to do with taxes. I believe one of the things that I was telling tax consultants and finance people, that people don't know about tax. People know about lawyers. But
exactly.
do they know about
Yeah, because I wanted to ask, now that you said that most Kenyans may not have the knowledge of the types of taxes that are paid out there, whose responsibility is it to make sure that people understand the kind of taxes that they're supposed to remit to government?
Number one, the government has to be on the forefront. But as consultants here, we are also here, that we are also part of the journey to make Kenyans understand about taxes. That's why we're here. I think over time it has taken long for Kenyans really to embrace taxation, apart from the assessment that have come more often of late. That is when Kenyans are beginning to embrace issues to do with taxes. But it's a conversation that the government needs to start. There has to also be private sector also being involved, the tax consultants, the finance personnel, getting involved into this, because that's also an issue on the ground. People don't know about taxes. The people who don't even file their pay, they have years of not filing their pay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some do not even know they're supposed to file returns.
Yes.
And that is something that people need to know, actually. And also, Bwana Peter, how does the public sector come in all this if we are to enhance fiscal discipline within the country and achieve that economic stability that we all wish for?
The public sector is a key stakeholder in matters of attaining fiscal discipline, because when you talk of public sector, we are basically speaking about taxpayers. And therefore, when we talk about fiscal discipline, if we isolate public sector from it, we'll be getting it wrong. And I would like to pick from where my brother Ondongo has left.
Yes.
When he talked about tax education. The Kenya Revenue Authority needs to really have an arm where it can be an agent that runs the public sector. In the sense that every time they are visiting a private investment, they are not going there to check on tax compliance. They need to have a department that really facilitates trade, so that they would go and give advice to an investor on the best ways to make more money. How do you produce, do you cut on cost on your production? How do you cut on all these costs of doing your business? So that the private sector does not view KRA as an opponent. And like he rightfully said, sometimes you get a happy birthday message from KRA, and when you see it, you just activate your tax consultant. What is this all about? You don't even want to read it, right? Simply because KRA has packaged itself as an organization whose primary business is to collect tax. They need to find ways of empowering their customers. Their customers are now the private sector and the taxpayers. And the way to empower them is to have a department that supports them to be productive, to be more professional, to realize their corporate objectives by way of giving business tips, by ways of telling them best ways, best locations to import their raw materials, because KRA has all these in their database. So that at the end of the day, these private sector would look at KRA as an indispensable business partner. And therefore, it will bring joy when they are doing their tax returns and they are paying taxes. They will know, these are my guys, they are my friends, we work together, they have supported us in 1, 2, 3 ways. Then let us discharge our national duty of paying tax. So that's one of the ways that private sector can be brought on board in matters of advancing our fiscal policy.
How do we manage our debt as a country? Because as at now, it stands at around 11.5 trillion.
Sure.
How do we manage that? And still talk about the fiscal discipline that we need and still achieve economic stability with that kind of cap?
That cap of a debt of 11 trillion.
Yes.
Debt has featured a lot. But again, people, we need to understand that there's a debt office. Currently, there's even a debt office, that Kenya has a debt office that is responsible for management of debt. Because the aspects of debt, one of the aspects that debt office has is to debt sustainability, minimize the debt, make sure that the debt is basically shared between the current and the future generation, share equitably between the current and the future generation. But again, managing debt, one of it we've touched on it, issues to do with collection. That what we have collected, the taxes that we have collected, instead of getting it in the hands of the people, why don't we make sure that it gets into this very project? We have the Vampire Diary. There's a gentleman who had the vampire, Morara having the Vampire Diary. If you look at the stall projects down there, what does it say? And the money was allocated.
Yes.
Yes. So it's a real question that we are borrowing, but look at the projects that we basically put the money. Where did the money go to? I think that's something that is alarming.
It also points out to the issues we are talking about, accountability.
Yes.
People need to... Monies have been used. We have white elephant projects. We do not have anyone who has been held accountable, yet we have a debt. How do we go about it?
So those are the issues that we are putting in place, that somebody has to be accountable. We have to get to a point that we make these individuals, the culprit, accountable, or else it will continue and it will be a pattern that continues. But we are looking for a brighter future. We say that, we need to have hope for a generation. One of the conversations that we need to have is to have hope, that we must bring individuals culprit to book on these issues, especially on those projects, those huge, massive projects. In terms of, we, as I told you, that education sectors and consultancy, how do we get these young ones that are in class getting opportunities? Part of the money is lost. So why are they not having jobs? Why are these projects? Because these projects are one of the areas that they need to get employment. So again, it's something that is massive, that needs to be tackled, the elephant in the room, corruption. I must speak with a lot of strength on it, that this has to be acted on. And we must not stop. We must put the government accountable to make sure that at the end of the day, at least they begin to put individuals who are responsible for loss of public funds into the right places that they should be into. Because that's why we have massive problems. Why do we have debt? Because our taxes are going into individuals' pocket. But again, also investment. Where do we invest in? Where do we tap into? We've tapped into projects that have failed. But have you tapped into people, even into knowledge? Because again, as I say, that we are not going to employ every person in government institution. Some will will create opportunity. So it means that we also need to invest in empowerment. We also need to invest in skills, which is key. If you look at the current times that we are in, not many people are going for job opportunity, but most people are skill-based. Most opportunities are skill-based. If you look at the time, look at 10 years ago, 20 years ago, if you look at the current kind of a generation that we are raising them towards skills. So meaning the government has to invest on the skills for this. But it has to tap on taxes as a way of managing debt. It has to work on issues to do with corruption. The government has also to make sure that in terms of sustaining, make sure that this debt goes down and we don't borrow more, is that, at the end of the day, it be very prudent with the finances. But all these things, what people don't understand, they're there. If you look at the PFM, it is there. If you look at the Constitution, it's there. So it's issues to do with implementation.
So if really dealt or adhered to the Public Finance Management Act, would we be having such problems in terms of fiscal discipline as a country if we really adhered to the Public Finance Management Act?
Adherence to Public Finance Management Act would really solve probably most of the challenges we have now. And also, I would like to observe that part of what we have is not shortage of laws or weaknesses in laws. What we have is a society whose value system is low. And therefore, this is not just a reserve of the people that we tend to vent our anger to, the people in power. It is a collective weakness within our society, such that, like my brother observed at the beginning of this show,
yes,
at all levels, in those chamas, you find that the treasurer has made away with 500 shillings for members. And, you know, the rest of the members are complaining. And the members who are complaining, in the other chama where they are leading, they have also made away with 2,000 shillings, but they are complaining about the 500 shillings. And therefore, what we need to do is agree as a nation. We have come to a point where we need to do a reset of our value system, so that all of us are responsible for our actions at whatever level, starting from your own kitchen. Be responsible for whatever happens there if you are the person accountable. Come to our estate committee meetings. Let's not cut deals for security. We are hiring a watchman, and the person we have asked to go and scout, said add 1,000 on this quotation of 12,000, so that I will be paying you 12,000. You give me a kickback of 1,000 every month. So let's be people whose value system is above reproach. And like the Bible says that before I point at the speck in your eye, let me also remove the log in my own eye. So we really need to, as we talk about fiscal discipline and matters economic advancement of our country, let's agree we are all stakeholders. We are responsible for where we are. We are not at a bad place. We are not at a perfect place. We are responsible for where we are, and we have a responsibility to be able to make incrementally baby steps every day, so that at the end of a reasonable duration of time, all of us can say for sure we began from a low level, we are now at a more acceptable level.
Indeed, gentlemen, your time is very much appreciated. Come and talking about our Kenya's fiscal discipline and economic stability. That is CPA Ken Odongo, who is a director for KAS Business College, and also Peter Njeru, who is a financial consultant, joining us here on Good Morning Kenya to talk about these matters. This conversation ends here, but Good Morning Kenya continues shortly. We are doing radio and TV together. You'll be piloted by Dora Manya on the other side of the studio. Stay with us.
This September, Uhuru Park will thunder with revival.
This place that gave birth to a revival to a continent will once again give birth to a revival to a generation.
5 days of worship, word, and breakthrough. Experience word that awakens destiny and presence that transforms lives. Join a nationwide awakening like no other. Come as you are, seeking, believing, expectant.
Rema Fest 2025.
And so here it begins again from the 1st to the 5th of September 2025.
Entry is free. The world of governance is vast and can be alien to the ordinary man on the street.
Critical issues are going to be discussed.
From white papers to policy positions, it is easier to get lost in the labyrinth of words.
Inside Government takes you to key global metropolis where critical decisions are made and where policies are crafted.
We interview policymakers and senior government officials to highlight and enumerate government policies and projects. We take a deep dive into the underbelly of complex red tape to demystify policies across the country,
across the world. Join me, O'Brien Kimani, on Inside Government, only on KBC Channel 1.
Looking to advertise on KBC? KBC announcement services are now available on eCitizen. Visit kbc.ecitizen.go.ke and fill out the online application form. It's simple. 1. Complete the form. 2. Upload required documents. 3. Receive a quotation based on word count. And 4. Get notified via SMS when your announcement is ready. Please note, clearly indicate the type of announcement, service station, and all relevant details. 2. All applications must be made online only. Manual submissions will not be accepted. And 3. Announcements will air after news bulletins. For assistance, reach us on email ecitizen@kbc.co.ke or use our social media handles, Facebook, your Facebook account, and X at your X account. Or you can call us on 0723 892 654 or 0734 780 124. KBC announcements. Simple, fast, and digital.
Mtazamaji na msikilizaji wa KBC Channel 1, karibu sana ndani ya Gumzo Pevu Jumanne ya leo. Kumbuka kila siku ya Jumanne ni ushirikiano mkubwa wa Radio Taifa na KBC Channel 1, na hii leo basi tutakuwa tunaangazia masuala ya vijana na katiba. Kumbuka Kenya inaadhimisha miaka 15 tangu kuasisiwa kwa katiba ya mwaka 2010. Basi tutakuwa tunazungumzia masuala haya. Kumbuka kuzungumza nasi kupitia mitandao ya kijamii, ambapo tungependa kujua kutoka kwako miaka 15 baadaye, je, matakwa na masuala ya vijana katika katiba yameweza kushughulikiwa ipasavyo? Basi zungumza nasi kupitia KBC Channel 1 mtandao wa Facebook, ama pia mtandao wa X, ama pia @Radio Taifa FM, @Doramanya, @Mwamkondo, na bila shaka hashtag Nizinga, na mwenzangu upande wa pili wa studio ni Rashid Mwamkondo. Mtazamaji na msikilizaji, tunapopatana hewani katika ushirikiano huu, tunaangazia katiba ya mwaka 2010 ambayo ilileta mageuzi kwa kupanua haki za kimsingi katika sura ya 4, ikijumuisha uhuru wa kijamii, kiuchumi na kisiasa, na kuhakikisha kuwa vijana wanapewa heshima, sauti na nafasi ya kushiriki kamilifu katika uongozi wa taifa hili. Kizazi cha Gen Z kinachotumia mitandao ya kijamii kwa ustadi mkubwa kimekuwa mstari wa mbele kuibua mijadala kuhusu masuala ya haki, uwajibikaji na mwelekeo wa taifa. Na harakati tofauti na vijana siku za hivi majuzi zilionyesha wazi kuwa vijana sio watazamaji tu, bali ni nguvu halisi katika mabadiliko ya taifa hili. Na wakati huo utekelezaji wa haki za kijamii na kiuchumi inashughulikiwa kupitia taasisi kama vile Youth Enterprise Fund Development Fund. Mfuko huu ambao ulianzishwa mwaka 2006 na kuhalalishwa kisheria mwaka 2007 umekuwa chombo muhimu cha kuwawezesha vijana kwa mikopo nafuu, mafunzo na hata biashara, upatikanaji wa masoko na hata miundo misingi. Sasa kupitia mswada wa vijana mwaka 2024, serikali inapendekeza kuanzishwa mfuko mpya wa vijana utakaolenga ubunifu wa miradi ya kujikimu. Kwa masuala haya na mengi yanayohusu vijana na katiba, nina wageni watatu katika studio zetu hii leo kuangazia masuala haya. Kwanza kabisa ninaye Bwana Philip Pande ambaye ni mwanaharakati wa ushirikishwaji wa vijana katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Karibu sana Bwana Philip Pande.
Asante sana.
Vile vile ninaye waziri wa huduma za vijana, michezo, jinsia na utamaduni katika kaunti ya Kakamega, Mheshimiwa Jacqueline Masicha. Karibu sana katika studio zetu.
Asante sana Dora.
Na hatimaye karibu nami hapa tunaye Bwana Benson Mudhendi, mkurugenzi mkuu wa masuala ya Youth Enterprise Development Fund. Karibu katika studio zetu. songea tu kipaza sauti kidogo, alafu tutakuwa tunaanza kuchapa kazi hapa. Karibuni sana wageni wangu katika studio. Tunaangazia vijana na katiba, na nyote hapa mnaangazia masuala ya vijana katika fani mbalimbali. Hebu tuanze tu kutoka hapa katika mkono wangu wa kushoto, labda kabla tuingie katika mambo ya vijana kikamilifu. Ni mafanikio gani ambayo unasema vijana wa Kenya wamepata kutokana na katiba mwaka 2010, miaka 15 baadaye?
Mwanzo kabisa ni kwamba hii katiba inatambua vijana. Kwa mara ya kwanza katiba ya Kenya inatambua vijana. Ukiangalia katika article 260 ina define vijana ni kina nani na kwa umri. Na pia katika article 55 tunaona katiba inapendekeza mambo ambayo nafaa kufanywa ili kuweza kuendeleza masuala ya vijana.
Kwa hivyo unasema kwamba katiba mara hii inatambua vijana
kabisa,
kiumri tu ama pia katika masuala mengine?
Pia katika masuala, kwa sababu imependekeza baadhi ya mambo ambayo serikali inafaa kutekeleza ili vijana waweze kujiendeleza kimasomo, kibiashara, mambo kama vile kulete affirmative action ili vijana wasiangaliwe tu kama Wakenya, lakini pia waangaliwe wao wakiwa vijana ni shida gani ambazo wako nazo na zinaweza kutatuliwa kwa njia gani.
Asante. Nije kwako Bwana Philip Pande, wewe ni mwanaharakati, unashughulika sana na masuala ya vijana. Hadi kufikia sasa masuala ya vijana katika katiba yameshughulikiwa ipasavyo?
Naam, asante sana Dora, na niweze kuwasalimu wasikilizaji, watazamaji kwamba natumai kwamba mko salama, wenye heri wa afya. Katiba jinsi mwenzangu alivyosema ni inatambua vijana na inatambua kiumri. Inasema ile mikakati ama hatua serikali inafaa kupiga ili vijana wanufaike ama wawe pamoja katika kushirikisha na kuendelesha jamii yetu. Ila kumekuwa na changamoto. Unapoangalia katika county sana sana vijana hawajapata nafasi za kazi ama kujumuika ama kufanya kazi kwa pamoja na serikali zao. Unaposikia katika serikali kuu kuna mikakati kama affirmative action funds, kama ile Youth Enterprise Development Fund, ukifika katika counties unakuta kwamba tunakosa sana nafasi kama hizo. Utakuta kama ni counties chache tu ziko na nafasi ya affirmative action funds ama county youth enterprise funds, vitu kama hivyo. Cha msingi ni kwamba tumeangazia sana manufaa kutoka katika serikali kuu ama serikali ya kati, ama nafasi za kazi ama kujumuishwa katika utendakazi wa nchi sana sana katika serikali kuu. Lakini tunasahau kwamba tuko pia na pasi na katiba, tuko na County Governments Act ambao pia inahitaji kwamba vijana wawe wamejumuishwa katika county government structures. Ukiangalia kutoka kwa cabinet ya county kwamba 30% inafaa kuwa ni watu ambao ni kama vijana, kina mama na watu wasio watu ambao wako na ulemavu ambao watu kama hao. Unakuta kwamba counties nyingi sana hazizingatii. Pasi na executive bado kuna chief officers, bado magavana wanahitajika kwamba wanapoteua chief officers pia wazingatie huo mtindo, lakini kumekosekana. Sasa leo hii ningependa kwamba tuangazie pia vile counties vinafanya kunufaisha vijana isipokuwa tu serikali ya kati.
Asante, na umesema vizuri, manake tuna waziri kutoka katika kaunti ya Kakamega na ni waziri wa masuala ya vijana, michezo, jinsia na tamaduni, Mheshimiwa Jacqueline Masicha. Naona maswali mengi yatakuwa nakuja kwako, lakini kwa utangulizi tu, unahisi kwamba kikatiba na kama kaunti masuala ya vijana yameshughulikiwa ipasavyo?
Asante Dora. Katiba ya sasa imejaribu sana kuzingatia masuala ya vijana, na najua in as much as to make very significant steps, vile wenzangu wamesema changamoto zimekuwa mingi, lakini ukienda kwa undani sana uangalie county government, kuna county government pia ni initiative ya waziri ambaye ako hapo na pia governor hiyo county, ndio upate vijana wanahusishwa sana. Manake kila county ina programs zake ambazo zinafanya kuhakikisha kwamba vijana wanahusika. So najua, manake nimekuwa kwa caucus ya mawaziri wa counties tofauti, najua kila waziri kuna initiative ambazo wanafanya ili kuhakikisha kwamba vijana wanashughulikiwa ipasavyo. Hata wakati national government inafanya kazi yake, pia county government inafanya kazi yake. Na umesema probably wakati itakuja and we'll be able to highlight the different areas unaona vijana wanahusishwa. Na amesema ukweli, 30% ukienda kwa executive, hata tu kwa employment, ukiangalia mambo ya procurement inafaa iguze vijana. Mimi nimekuwa advocate wa vijana sana. Na ukiangalia, mimi nitazungumzia hata kule nimetoka kama Kakamega County, executive ya Kakamega County ina vijana 2. Mimi ni kijana na kuna mwenzangu pia waziri wa agriculture ambaye ni kijana. Na unajua saizi uchumi unaelekea sana agriculture. Sasa unapata agriculture, agribusiness tunashikana sana na vijana kufanya kazi pamoja ili kuhakikisha kwamba vijana wanahusishwa jinsi ipasavyo katika masuala ya county government, katika masuala ya procurement na employment.
Kwa mfano katika county ya Kakamega mawaziri ni wangapi?
Mawaziri ni 10.
Yeah. Lakini 2 ni vijana.
Yes.
Katiba ibara 260 nasema kijana ni wa miaka 18 hadi 35. 34. Kwa hivyo
bado sawa.
Tano nasema ni sawa.
Na kuna wamama pia hapo ndani. Unajua 30% hujasema ni ya vijana peke yao. Kuna pia wanawake hapo ndani. So ukiangalia 30% iko sawa.
Naam. Haya, tutakuja hapo baadaye. Na kabla tuingie labda katika sehemu mbalimbali, kwa sasa tumeona mwamko katika vijana ambao tunazungumzia katika hii katiba miaka 18, 34, 35 vile katiba inazungumzia article 260 ya katiba. Tumeona vijana na mwamko mpya wa wanaharakati ya saa na kusukuma kutafuta haki zao sana sana katika masuala ya uwakilishi. Na tulipoanza ulitaja nafikiri Bwana Pande na vile vile katiba ibara ya 4 ambayo inazungumzia masuala ya haki, sio unazungumziaje labda mwamko ambao tunaona kwa vijana kwa sasa katika kujaribu kuangazia masuala ya uwakilishi na kutafuta kuangazia mambo yao mbalimbali sana sana kutoka katika viongozi wao? Wanafanya katika njia ambayo inafaa ama viongozi ndio wamefeli, kabidi vijana sasa watafute sauti ya kujizungumzia?
Kwanza Dora, kabla nisahau, nimpongeze Jacqueline kwa kuteuliwa kuwa waziri wa vijana pale Kakamega. Kabla ya yeye kuwepo hapo kulikuwa na ndugu yangu anaitwa Moffat. Sasa Kakamega ni moja counties ambayo imepiga hatua sana kuwajumuisha vijana. Sawa na county ya Tharaka Nithi, kuna pale waziri kijana anaitwa Maureen ambaye alisoma nyuma yangu katika chuo kikuu. Counties chache sana, county ya Murang'a ambao kuna JZ deputy governor na anafanya kazi vilivyo. Vijana wameonyesha kwamba wakipewa nafasi wanaweza uweka mabadiliko. Siku nyingi sana tunaonekana kama wanaharakati ama wapinduzi. Sio hivyo. Ukiangalia mwaka uliopita sana sana imeangaziwa sana ile tunaita June 25th, maandamano kabla ya hapo, maandamano mwaka. Niseme kwamba vijana wanapokosa kujumuishwa ama kuhusishwa, wana kuwa na shida ama changamoto ambazo wanataka wasonge mbele, wapige hatua kwa mambo kadha wa kadha, masomo, kiuchumi, kupata kazi, kujiendeleza tu. Tumekumbuka sana article 1 na article 2 na tumeitumia sana katika msimu kutoka mwaka jana hadi leo, lakini ningependa himiza tena vijana. Kuna njia mbadala, kuna njia nyingi sana kujumuika ama kutoa maoni yetu ama kujihusisha katika utendakazi wa serikali. Sio kwamba maandamano ni jambo mbaya ama imepigwa marufuku kikatiba, imepeana nafasi kwamba tunaweza kaandamana, lakini kabla tufike maandamano kuna kuzungumza, kuna nafasi ya kujiwasilisha ama kutekeleza hoja kutumia petitions, ama hata kutumia opinion papers, ama kuandikia gavana, ama kuandikia serikali, ili kwamba maoni yetu ama fikra zetu zifikie wale walipo katika nafasi za kusaidia vijana ama kuendesha kazi za serikali. Siku nyingi nadhani kwamba pia serikali inaona vijana kwamba si watu tu wa kuwa organized ama kusaidia katika njia ile inaofaa. So tunajaribu sana kufunga mlango, ama milango zetu tuzifunge, tubaki ndani na vijana wakuwe wakipiga kelele pale nje. Tumeona kwamba haifai pia. Ile jambo ambayo itatusaidia kupiga hatua ni kufanya ile mambo gavana Baraza amefanya, kufanya ile mambo Rais William Ruto amefanya. Tumeona juzi amemteua katibu mkuu katika wizara wa vijana, kijana anaitwa Fikirini Jacobs, ambao pia ameonyesha unajua uwezo wa kufanya kazi. Ameleta mabadiliko katika ile State Department ambao kitambo kidogo tulikuwa tunaona inadidimia ama inafifia. Siku hizi tunaona kwamba nyota inasikika, mikakati tofauti ya serikali inasikika.
Kwa hivyo kulingana nayo kwamba serikali inafanya jitihada za kutosha kuhakikisha kwamba vijana wanashirikishwa ipasavyo.
Hatuwezi sema kutosha, lakini imepiga hatua katika kujumlisha vijana ama kufungua nafasi. Kama kule kuteua kijana kuwa katibu katika wizara ya vijana, inaonyesha kwamba tunaanza kusikiza mambo ya vijana. Kuona magavana wachache wanaanza kuita vijana wakae katika cabinet zao ni kuona kwamba tunapiga hatua. Lakini kuna nafasi kubwa sana ya kujumuisha vijana. Mwenzetu waziri ametukumbusha kwamba hii 30% tu ni si ya vijana peke yao, lakini pia kuhusu kina mama na watu ambao wanaishi na ulemavu. Mojawapo mambo ambayo ningependa sana izingatiwe katika tukiwa na mambo ya kuzungumzia kubadilisha katiba ni kwamba tuseme ikiwa ni 30%, iwe 30% ya kina mama peke yao, iwe 30% ya vijana peke yao, ili kwamba tufungue nafasi na tuweze kupeana nafasi tosha kwa vijana na kina mama, ili nafasi 3 katika niseme baraza la mawaziri katika counties isikue kwamba ndio inagawiwa kina mama na vijana.
Okay. Kwa hivyo unasema kwamba ipo haja ya marekebisho ya katiba jumuisha vijana zaidi
kabisa, na tuifanye sasa.
Kama si sasa wanasema ni sasa hivi. Na nilikuwa najaribu kuangalia katiba, nafikiri ibara ya 97 98 kuzungumzia masuala ya uwakilishi. Nilikuwa naona ukiangalia katika kwa mfano bunge la Senate, bunge la kitaifa, kama bunge la Senate vijana wanapatiwa nafasi 2, ukiangalia katika bunge pia la taifa vile. Kwa hivyo uwakilishi wa vijana unaonekana kidogo, unasema unahitajika kupigwa jeki kiasi. Lakini wacha nije kwako Bwana Benson Muthendi, wewe mkurugenzi wa masuala haya ambayo vijana wanataka kusikia sana, Youth Enterprise Development Fund. Katiba imezungumza vizuri kile ambacho vijana wanafaa pia kushughulikiwa. Ulitaja article 55. Kuna mambo kama 4 ambayo kuna masuala ya ajira,
ajira, masuala ya elimu, na masuala ya kibiashara, ya entrepreneurship.
Na sasa ninyi kama Youth Enterprise Development Fund, kwa sasa mmefika wapi katika kuhakikisha kwamba vijana wanafikia haki zao kikatiba kwa mujibu wa ibara ile ya 55 katika katiba, yale masuala ambayo umeyataja?
Mwanzo kabisa niseme katika Youth Enterprise Fund tunastawisha biashara za vijana kwa njia ya kutoa mafunzo ya kibiashara, kwa njia ya kutoa mikopo ya kibiashara, kwa njia ya kuwasaidia vijana kufikia soko na bidhaa zao. Na pia hivi karibuni tunatoa mikopo kwa vijana ambao wanapata ajira katika nchi za ng'ambo na labda una hela za kupata passport, visa, nauli ya ndege na kadhalika. Na niseme jambo moja ambalo tumezingatia sana ni kuhusisha vijana katika ile kutengeneza ile mipango yetu hivi kwamba kama tunafanya new loan products, tunaketi na vijana, tunahusisha, wanatoa maoni yao, hivi ndivyo tunataka, ndio tuhakikishe kwamba what we are doing is in the interest of the aspirations of our young people. Jambo lingine ambalo tumefanya na ambalo ni muhimu sana, hii katiba mpya inafanya emphasis sana maneno ya access to information. Ni kuhakikisha kwamba tumefungua njia zote za kuhakikisha vijana wanapata information, kwa sababu bila kupata information unapata sasa vijana hawashiriki katika hii mipango ya serikali. So kwa hivyo one of the things we have ensured in access to information, hivi kwamba officers wetu wanatembea kila mahali, kwa makanisa, kwa misikiti, ili kuzungumza na vijana, kusikiza maoni yao, kujibu maswali yao, ndio tukihamasisha vijana wataweza kushiriki kwa yale ambayo tunamefanya. Na niseme tumepiga hatua kubwa, kwa sababu tangu Youth Enterprise Fund ianzishwe tumeweza kutoa mikopo ya bilioni 18, fedha ambazo zimefikia vijana milioni 2.3. Na pia tumetoa mafunzo ya kibiashara kwa vijana kama vijana kama milioni 2. Na huu mpango ambao tumeanzisha juzi wa kufadhili vijana ambao wanapata ajira katika nchi za ng'ambo, mwezi wa 7 na mwezi wa 8 pekee tumetoa mikopo ya shilingi milioni 200 kwa vijana 2000 ambao wamepata kazi katika nchi za ng'ambo. So kwa hivyo tuseme tunapiga hatua, lakini youth empowerment is not a destination, it is a journey and it's a process. Ni mambo ambayo tunaendelea tukiimprove pole pole, na I'm sure we'll be there.
Manake moja wapo ya changamoto hapa nchini ni ukosefu wa ajira, na nafasi za ajira kwa vijana. Kwa hivyo unazungumzia masuala ya youth empowerment, mmetoa hela, huwa mnafuatilizia kuhakikisha kwamba zile pesa mmetoa vijana wamewekeza katika biashara ipasavyo, mama ukishatoa pesa ni hivyo? Manake pia kuna kule kutoa pesa tu ndio mmefanya mafunzo, lakini mnafuatilia kuona kwamba wanajengeka na kuimarika kiuchumi kama vile katiba inavyohitaji.
Kwa bahati nzuri fedha yetu ni mkopo, sio grant. Na kwa sababu ni mkopo ni lazima ufuatilie. So huwa tunafuatilia, na ndio kama wako na changamoto kidogo kidogo hapa, tunaketi nao, tunaweza kuwasaidia. Kuna wengine ambao huchukua mkopo pia na biashara inaenda chini kabisa. Sasa mnaketi naye unamuuliza, je, tukikuongeza mkopo kidogo utaweza kuinua biashara yako? Then we do restructuring na tunaweza kusaidiana nao. Kwa hivyo tunafuatilia. Kuna wengine ambao labda shida zao hata sio fedha, ni ako na products, lakini kufikisha hizo products kwa soko ndio shida. So we try and build their capacity, we try and support them market, we try and monitor, na we give them business counseling. Pia kuna maneno ya mentorship ambayo tunafanya, kwa sababu mfumo wetu wa elimu hapo mbeleni hauko unazingatia sana maneno ya biashara, maneno ya employment. Kwa hivyo ulipata mtu ametoka shule anataka kuanzisha biashara, lakini he has no knowledge, he has no skills on how to start and run a business. Lakini you see now in our current education system now, kuna a lot of emphasis entrepreneurship, hata ukiangalia hata tertiary level. So we are trying a lot kufanya mentorship. Tunaunganisha vijana na watu ambao wako na hiyo tajriba ya biashara, ambao kijana kama labda akona changamoto hapa na pale, akona mtu ambaye anaweza kuwa naongea naye, unaenda unamwambia, sasa hapa nimekwama kidogo, from your experience guide me on how I can be able to move forward. So is a wholesome package.
Shikilia pale, tutakuwa tunaendeleza hayo zaidi. Acha nije kwako Mheshimiwa Jacqueline Masicha, katika masuala ya huduma za vijana pale katika county. Kuna mambo ya michezo, kuna swala la jinsia, na kuna swala la utamaduni katika vile vitengo ambavyo unashughulikia. Labda katika kiwango cha county, na tukitumia mfano wa county ya Kakamega, county zinafanya vipi kuhakikisha kwamba vijana wana nafasi na wanawakilishwa ipasavyo, sana sana hatimaye wao na tuseme kitu mfukoni, uchumi wao pia ukaweze kuimarika? Maana kuna nafasi ya michezo, kuna tamaduni, na hizo nafasi ambazo nimeweza kutaja.
Katika county ya Kakamega, kuja kwa michezo sisi huwa na Governors Cup. Governors Cup ni mchezo tunafanya, hata wakati huu tunataka kuanza wakati wa Oktoba, na inachukua teams kutoka ward level. Unajua county ndio iko tuna structures zenye inaweza kukusaidia ufikie mwananchi pale chini. Ndio manake wakati mwingine unaona pia national government inakuja ifanye kazi na county. So sisi tunatoa vijana from ward level to sub county, then eventually wanakuja up to county level, wanacheza last year walicheza soka peke yake, but wakati huu governor amepeana direction, anasema manake si vijana wote wanacheza soka peke yake. Kuna wengine Kakamega ukiangalia we are cathedral of sports. So utaona pia kuna wale ambao wanataka rugby hapo. Alafu pia last time hatukushirikisha PWDs, na pia kuna vijana PWDs ambao tuseme wanacheza volleyball. So wakati huu pia tunahakikisha kwamba wanawekwa ndani. Hao vijana scouting ufanywe ya talents hapo. Unapata wanakuja wanakuwa picked, na pia governor upeana cash awards to the winning teams kutoka ward level hadi county level.
Kwa hivyo wachezi tu wakimaliza unajua tangu rais apeana Harambee Stars pesa katika mashindano ya chance, sasa kwa katika kila kiwango watu wanataka kuona what is the price.
Yeah, hata sisi Kakamega County cash awards upeanwa ili in as much as wanataka kugawa vijana, pia kuna programs zenye pia hiyo timu inaweza ikaenda iendelee kurun. Na pia saizi mpango ambayo iko ni tunataka kuhakikisha pia tunaweka sports academy. Tunahakikisha kwamba hao vijana tunaweza kumonitor, manake hata ukiangalia michezo ambayo imechezwa juzi Kakamega County ya Fiesa, vijana wanacheza vizuri sana. Nitumie tu timu za Kakamega County. Msingu ilicheza vizuri, Bishop Njenga, Butere Girls, Butere Boys. Kuna talent hapo. Lakini swali huwa hizi talent upotelea wapi? Hizi talent upotelea wapi? Sasa sisi mikakati yetu ni kuensure kwamba we have a sports academy where we are able to monitor these talents. Unapata kuna msichana mdogo pia alikimbia akapata gold East Africa, lakini from there unapata walidisappear tu. So we want to ensure that we monitor that through sports. Pia kwa county government ya Kakamega tuna inaitwa County Youth and Women Empowerment Program, ambayo ni program yenye inaajiri 3000 young people and women, na ni program ambayo wanafanya kile after every 2 years, then tunalichukua wengine. Hiyo ni ku have impact. Manake kila wakati nikikuchukua tu wewe na kuna vijana wengi hawana kazi, unapata tutakuwa na shida. So kuna vijana ambao tunaajiri, tunakisha tunachukua 1800 youth, 1200 women. Na tunawapatia kazi, wanasaidia, manake kuna kazi nyingi sana unapata inahitajika kufanywa kuhakikisha maybe probably the environment is clean. So tuna engage vijana tuhakikishe tu kwamba wanapata something. Alafu kuna pia social grants. Social grants youth enterprise wakipeana loan, si tunahakikisha tunawapea grant. Si hata tunaweza tukakupea grant tukupatie mafunzo, wakati business yako itaendelea kukua hatutakupea grant ingine, hapo sasa utaenda uchukue loan. Na tumekuwa tukifanya kazi na Youth Enterprise Fund vizuri sana. So Kakamega County tunahakikisha kwamba, na governor alisema vijana ndio wanaelewa mambo ya vijana. Sasa akasema vijana ndio tutaendelea kufanya kazi pamoja ili tuhakikishe kwamba needs zetu they are well catered for.
Kuna jambo ambalo umetaja na nafurahi umenijibu, manake nilikuwa nikuulize, baada hizi talanta ni nyingi, vipi mnawasaidia hao vijana hata labda kuingia katika national teams, kuna international, umezungumzia masuala ya sports academy, lakini kuna kitu ambacho pia umetaja kwamba mnawahusisha vijana, mnawaajiri pia mambo ya usafi, na hapo ndio vijana huwa na waswali. Wengi huhisi ya kwamba mara nyingi tukizungumzia vijana kazi zao ni za mkono, vijana wa okote takataka, vijana wakisha kwamba kuna usafi, lakini japo katika kazi zile ambazo za afisi vijana wanakuwa wachache.
Mimi nitakujibu hilo swali kabla uendelee. Hata wewe pale ambapo umeketi unajua kuna skilled, kuna semi skilled na kuna unskilled. Wale ambao tuseme hawana skill, na pia nashukuru manake Nyota program inakuja pia ili iweze kuweza kuwasaidia. Kama una skill tunakupea, manake hiyo program inasaidia. Sasa unapata ni wamama na hawa vijana ambao hawana skill. Hawa vijana ambao hawana skill, program yetu inasema kwamba mchana from morning hours wako kazini, then in the afternoon wako kwa polytechnics wana acquire skill. au ndo tuna target sana hapo. Lakini pia kuna kijana ambaye anakuambia mimi kama bado natafuta kazi, hata nikipewa hii kazi, manake bado hawa elders ndio tuambie vijana wanachagua kazi. Lakini vijana wenyewe hawana shida. Ukiwapea kazi lakini elder mwenyewe ndiye anaanza kuambia mbona umepewa hiyo. Lakini vijana wenyewe wanakuambia mimi I want something that can sustain me in the meantime. So unawapatia kazi. Lakini pia hizi nafasi zingine tolewa, unapata vijana wakiapply wanapata. Ni ile tu tunataka kuhakikisha kwamba vijana they also package themselves well. Manake tumekuwa na shida sana, unapata una apply tu kazi. Nimekuwa nikiambia vijana kama Kakamega County kuna hata program tunahakikisha kwamba tunafanya training ya soft skills. Unapata ulitoka shule umekuwa ukiapply kazi, it's 10 years hakuna mtu hajai kuita. Ujajua kwamba CV yako hata haiko ATS compliant. Ikiwekwa tu popote kwa system inakuwa rejected. Manake ujajua kutengeneza an ATS compliant CV. Okay. So Kakamega County tunahakikisha kwamba tunataka kuwafanyia training so that na ukienda hata saizi Bright Monday ama uende Fuza ama uende wapi, utengenezewe CV ATS compliant. Utalipa between 3,500 and 4,000. Yeah. Lakini kama county government ya Kakamega sisi tunawaletea tu skill, tuna train vijana wetu bure ili wasikuwe na hiyo shida ya kujipata kwa database.
Shikilia pale msikilizaji na mtazamaji, kumbuka tunazungumzia masuala ya vijana na katiba. Iwapo unajiunga nasi kwa sasa, tembelea mitandao yetu ya kijamii kwenye Facebook KBC Radio Taifa Sauti ya Mkenya, ama pia KBC Channel 1. Pia tutag kupitia mitandao ya X @KBC Channel 1 @Radio Taifa FM @Dora Manya @Momkondo. Hebu tupatie kauli zako kuhusiana na vijana kuhusishwa kikamilifu katika miradi pia maendeleo, na kama matakwa yao yameshughulikiwa ipasavyo kwa mujibu wa katiba wa mwaka 2010, miaka 15 baadaye. Nakumbuka ni hivi tu majuzi rais alitangaza kwamba sasa tutakuwa na Katiba Day kila tarehe 27 ya Agosti kila mwaka. Tukiendelea na mjadala wetu hapa, nije kwako bwana Philip Pande. Mengi tumezungumzia katika viwango vya county, na najua mnazungumza na vijana katika viwango mbalimbali county na vile vile viwango vya kitaifa. Na ulitaja hapo mwanzoni kwamba unafurahia kwamba pia serikali kuu inajumuisha vijana. Swali ni je, wanapojumuishwa haswa wanawakilisha vijana wenzao ipasavyo? Manake utasikiza ukizungumza na vijana pia pale mtaani, na hivi majuzi wengi walikuwa wanataka ile tunasema recall MPs, ikawa kwamba ABC wanasema sheria ile ya recall bado haiko wazi. Manake kwa mujibu wa katiba 104 katika katiba kuna nafasi ya recall, lakini haijawekwa mikakati ipasavyo. Je, wanapochaguliwa wanawakilisha vijana wenzao ipasavyo? Wanatekeleza majukumu inavyofaa?
Naam, Dora, vile nilivyokueleza mwanzo ni kwamba wale vijana ambao wamepewa nafasi za kazi wameonyesha uwezo wa represent vijana na kuleta mabadiliko. Sana sana tunasema vijana ni wavumbuzi, kutumia teknolojia, kutumia njia za kisasa kusaidia serikali, ama hata kuweka wazi mambo kwamba tuweze kusambaza ujumbe iwafikie vijana pale chini. Ile threshold ya representation ya vijana katika bunge, katika cabinet, katika hizi zote tunasema ni kidogo sana. Ukiangalia katiba ulivyotaja Senate, bunge la Senate, tuko na vijana wawili, mmoja ya kike, mmoja ya kiume, na mambo kuisha. Iweje kwamba watu wawili katika taifa nzima wataweza kuwakilisha masuala ya vijana kutoka sehemu zote za Kenya? Ingekuwa kwamba katika bunge la Senate vile tulivyokuwa na kina mama katika National Assembly, tuko na 47 seats ambazo zimekwa wazi kwamba hizi ni za kina mama, basi uwezeshe kupandisha hiyo threshold kwamba vijana pia tunaweza kuwa na 47 waweze kuwakilisha vijana. Wale wachache ambao wamepewa kazi, nitakupea mfano mzuri kwa naibu gavana anaitwa Stephen pale Murang'a. Kila siku unapoangalia ile tunaita timeline ama DM, unapata kwamba ile mikakati ama kazi ya serikali ameitangaza katika WhatsApp profile yake ama social media ama kila mahali. Iwapo kuna peanwa basari leo, utapata ujumbe kutoka kwake mtu wa kwanza. Ni nini vijana sana wanahitaji? Kupata nafasi za ajira, kupata nafasi za kujiendeleza katika njia ya kiuchumi. Ni information. kwamba tusambaze ujumbe, tupeane communication pale grassroots watu wapate. So unakuta kwamba inakuwa rahisi sana vijana wanapokuwa katika hizi nafasi za uongozi. Wao ni watu wa kwanza kutegemewa na kuangaliliwa sana na vijana, na wanapata ile information at the right time. Wanaweza kuapply kazi, wanaweza kuapply scholarships na zile opportunities zinapatikana. So mimi sina shida na vijana ambao wamepewa nafasi za kazi ama ambao wamechaguliwa kufanya kazi yao, wamefanya katika kadri ya uwezo wao. Lakini kunao pia wale ambao lazima tuwaite na tuwakanye kwamba sivyo ndivyo tunataka sisi vijana tuwakilishwe. Unakuta mtu ni mbunge lakini mienendo yake si ya mbunge, atuwakilishi vizuri kama vijana. So unakuta wazee kama ndugu yangu hapa wanasema kwamba iwapo tutapea nafasi tena, sioni kama mtatusaidia kwa vile mtaleta mtu kama mbunge fulani anatoka katika jimbo la Kakamega. Sitamtaja jina. But kunao ambao wamefanya kazi na wamefanya kazi kwa bidii. Tumeona mtu ametoka katika nomination, amechaguliwa seneti, amechaguliwa sasa gavana. Nipeane mfano kwa Mheshimiwa Gavana Sakaja. Amepanda hivyo vyeo kulingana na ile kazi ambayo ameweka, ile juhudi ambayo ameweka. Tuangalie watu kama sasa ukiangalia bunge, unakuta elected member Meli Odhiambo alianza kama nominated member of National Assembly, niseme kama mara 2, amechaguliwa mara 2 ama mara 3. Inaonyesha kwamba ni ile juhudi ama jitihada ameweka kama kijana alivyokuwa kijana hadi sasa amefika tunamwona kama mama. Kuna mfano mingi sana za vijana ambao wamefanya kazi, wamefanya jitihada, wamepanda pale. Na ni siku zote napenda kuwakumbusha Wakenya kwamba kabla Vision 2030 tulikuwa na ile ilikuwa inaitwa Sessional Paper 10, ilitengenezwa na vijana 3. Alikuwepo marehemu Tom Mboya, alikuwepo marehemu Rais Mwai Kibaki, alikuwepo walikuwa wamesaidiwa na Obama senior pale. Hiyo imetumika kama the planning document ya nchi ama taifa letu kwa miaka kama 40 kabla tukue na Vision 2030. Iwe kwamba vijana wanapopewa ufadhili na wanapewa nafasi na wanapewa ile political goodwill na backing, wanaweza kubadilisha taifa. Itatushangaza sisi sote. Na tumeona popote tunapokuwa na vijana katika nafasi ya kazi, katika uongozi, kuna ile tunaita vibe ama tofauti kubwa unaonekana.
Hapo kwa ndio nilikuwa nataka kuja. Manake licha kwamba tunazungumzia sana ni kama mambo sana na wakilishi katika mambo ya siasa na kadhalika. Lakini kuna kazi hizi ambazo nilikuwa nauliza waziri mambo ya afisini, na kumekuwa lalama kwamba au vijana wetu wa Gen Z, mtu ametoka kwa mfano shule, amepata kazi, lakini hata ile tunasema office etiquette, tabia za pale afisini, kwa mfano anavovalia, hawezi kuambiwa chochote, anataka tu kusikiliza muziki, anakuja afisini wakati ambapo ambao anataka yeye mwenyewe. Kando na hayo mambo mengine ambayo tunazungumzia, lakini pia kwa upande wenu, ni vipi mnahakikisha ya kwamba vijana wanafunzwa na wanatayarishwa ipasavyo vile vile katika hizi kazi ambazo wanalilia kuzipata? Manake wengi wanapata na wanapoteza kwa sababu ya kukosa zile tabia ambazo zinahitajika katika sehemu za kazi.
Nashukuru kwamba umeuliza hilo swali. Na waziri hapa ametaja kwamba kaunti ya Kakamega inapiga hatua kufanya vijana kuwa na soft skills ama kuwasaidia kuwa wawe tayari kupata kazi ama kuapply zile kazi ambazo itakuwa rahisi kwao kupata. Pasi kuwa mshauri wa vijana ama mwanaharakati vile unavyoniita. Mimi naendesha kazi katika kampuni inaitwa Corporate Career Academy. Juhudi yetu kubwa ni kufanya ile tunasema vijana kuwa na employability skills, kwamba tutayarishe vijana kutoka vyuo kwa hiyo harakati ya transition kwenda katika soko ama kutafuta kazi. Ni mambo yapi ambao wanahitajika kujua, ni jinsi gani anafaa kujiwakilisha kama kijana. Uwezi toka shule ama chuo bila CV. Uwezi kuwa unatafuta kazi na ufanye applications kila siku. Na unapofanya applications, sio ile cover letter ulitumia juzi kwa kazi fulani, ndivyo bado una recycle na unatumia leo na unatumia kesho. posho kwa kazi tofauti kwamba employability skills imekuwa jambo kubwa sana inazungumziwa. Ukiangalia katika Afrika Mashariki kuna ripoti inasema kwamba, na ilifanywa na Inter University Council, kwamba 55% ya vijana ambao wanatoka vyuo hawako tayari kuchukua kazi katika industry. Kwa nini? Wamekosa very basic skills, soft skills, people skills.
Kwa hivyo
kuna gap kubwa sana. So hiyo gap ndo kuanzia mwaka 2022 tumekuwa annually tunafanya ile inaitwa kongamano kuu katika Afrika Mashariki. Inaleta pamoja vyuo vikuu, inaleta TVETs, inaleta serikali, inaleta wawekezaji, inaleta vijana wenyewe. Tuzungumzie mambo ambayo tunasema kwamba ni gaps ambazo tunafaa kuzisil ili vijana wakuwe na transition ile rahisi kutoka training to industry ama campus to career.
Asante. Shikilia pale tu kidogo na kwa dakika moja, manake pia tunajiandaa kupokea simu 2-3 upande wa pili wa studio kwa dakika moja tu.
Nilikuwa nataka kusema kwamba nitetee vijana kwamba vijana wanafanya kazi mzuri sana. Kuna hii program ya internship ya serikali and every year tunapokea vijana wengi sana ambao wanakuja kule kwetu kazini kufanya kazi nasi. Our vijana, their orientation is a little bit different, but it's us to see how we accommodate them and how we mentor them. We should not blame them. So wakija kule kazini, they do a good job. Of course utapata maybe they interact a lot with technology, hawana hizo people skills, but it's upon us to take that responsibility, you know, to guide them, to mentor them and to orient them to what they're supposed to do. So we take that as a responsibility. Yes.
Asante. Naona waziri anataka kusema dakika moja tu tukimia upande wa pili wa studio, manake pia katika county kwa sasa na of course katika viwango vya constituency nafikiri utakuta kwamba kuna angalau kituo cha TVET ambacho wanaangazia sana masuala ya skills, wanasema hands on. Lakini pia swali linajitokeza baada ya wengi kupata hizo skills, kuna ndio kujifungulia kazi. Hapo ndo wanaingia wao katika kuwezesha vijana labda kupata zile grants na vile loan wakaweza kufanya shughuli nzima. Lakini pia kuna wale wanasema wakitoka hapo wengine hawajui waende wapi. Kuna kitu nataka kutaja.
Nilikuwa nimezungumzia nikasema kitu ya kwanza kama kijana ukitoka university ama college wherever you are, inakuwa packaging. Hata wewe ukitaka kuongelesha intern akiwa amekuja ama ni mwanafunzi amekuja attachment, asipokuwa na hiyo willingness na hiyo kujipackage, atatoka hapo akiwa hivyo. Lakini haimaanishi tunachoka, conversation zinaendelea. Lazima unapata tunaika hizo training. Wakati mwingine unaita hiyo training na hawataki kukuja training, lakini manake ni vijana wenzetu, we keep pushing. Na tunasema mimi nini yangu kuwa moja, mimi usema nikiita watu 100 na out of the 100 10 get something, I've made an impact. So najua ni vijana watasema si ni wagumu sana, labda manake we can also express ourselves, that's why wanasema we are radicals, you activists na nini, but it is all about
kwa willing.
Kwa willing.
Shikilia point pale, naomba tu upande wa pili kidogo tupokee simu 2-3. Ningependa mvalie hivi ndio mpate kusikia maswali ya sio wanafunzi bali ya wananchi, alafu tuweze kukamilisha kwa ufupi sana. Upande wa pili wa studio Rashid.
Naam, hello Zinga. Amekata, lakini bado msikilizaji unaweza kuja hewani 0700176699 kwa haraka upesi. Msikilizaji, swali lako ni gani kwa wageni ambao wako ndani ya studio? Hello Zinga. Hello Zinga.
Hello Radio Taifa. Hello Radio Taifa.
Unasikika vizuri ndugu, uliza swali lako.
Basi mimi nauliza hivi. Habari yako?
Mzuri sana.
Mimi naitwa Patrick Mayavi nikiwa hapa Bungoma County.
Haya, uliza swali lako.
Swali langu upande wa vijana. Vijana sijui mnaongoza namna gani? Patrick.
Okay.
Asante, tuchukue swali jingine. Hello Zinga.
Tunafahamu kifikelo nalo nikiwa hapa Nakuru na mfanyia wa hapa Malaba katika kaunti. Ningependa kuuliza swali, wakati wanachukua vijana wanachukua wakiangalia masafu county au wanachukua tu sehemu moja?
Asante, simu ya mwisho. Hello Zinga.
Mkondo ujambo?
Yes.
Halo.
Unasikika, uliza swali ndugu Ongege.
Huyu na Ongege ni ukipata kuuliza swali moja tu kwa hao wataalamu.
Naam.
Unakuta kwamba vijana wazee wamekatalia ofisini, wamefikisha umri wa kulitaya lakini upande wako ofisini. Na vijana wamesoma, wako na certificate, wako na madiguli ambao wanaweza kufanya hizo kazi. Mbona wazee hawawezi kuachia vijana nao wafanyako kwa hiyo kazi?
Haya, mwingine huyu. Hello Zinga. Yes.
Mwenyewe ni kulomba mwenyewe kutoka Nguni Mwingi.
Haya, swali lako. Uliza swali. Haya, huyu nafikiri amependezewa na Dora kwenye TV. Dora, kwako.
Shukran Rashid kutoka upande wa pili wa studio zetu. Na wageni wetu tumesikia baadhi ya maswali. Kabla sijahusisha pia, naangalia katika mitandao kuna mmoja anaitwa Philip Msungu anasema katiba na vijana wamefaidika na katiba ya sasa kweli kweli. Anasema hasa serikali inawakumbatia sana na kuwaenzi vijana. Tena sauti yao inasikizwa. Anasema katika masuala moja hapo anasema ni elimu, serikali imesikiliza sana vijana. Alafu yupo anaitwa nani huyu, nitazifungua niangalie baadaye anasema namna gani. Jumbe zangu zinapotea kidogo lakini tutarejea pale. Kuna yale yamejitokeza kama mawili matatu hapa na nafikiri nitaanza nawe mheshimiwa kutoka upande wa Youth Enterprise Development Fund. Ikizingatiwa pia kwamba kupitia mswada wa vijana mwaka 2024 serikali inapendekeza kubadilisha Youth Enterprise Development Fund na kuanzisha mfuko mpya wa vijana. Tayari ameuliza hapo swali, mnazingatia nini? Je, ni county, sub county ndio vijana wakaweza kupata hiyo mikopo kutoka kwenu?
Sisi tukitoa mikopo hatuangalie county ama sub county, tunaangalia yule kijana binafsi, kwamba kuna kijana ambaye anataka mkopo. You apply as an individual, it is irrespective of where you come from. Lakini pia kuna mikakati ambayo tunaweka, of course tukiangalia sub county na county, kuhakikisha kwamba vijana ambao wanapata mikopo hawajatoka eneo moja. Tunahakikisha tumehamasisha vijana katika pande zote, na you apply as an individual whether or not other people have applied or not from your sub county, you have a right as an individual for that loan. Na lakini tuko na officers katika counties na sub counties ambao wanafanya kazi na vijana kule mashinani, na ambao kama jinsi waziri alivyosema katika county ya Kakamega anafanya kazi kwa karibu sana na maofisa wetu.
Yes. Na haya mapendekezo ambayo yanawasilishwa kupitia mswada wa vijana mwaka 2024 yataleta mabadiliko yapi katika hii fund ambayo mnatoa kwa vijana? Na ikizingatiwa pia kwamba serikali kwa sasa inajaribu mbinu mbalimbali. Kuna Nyota program ambayo imejitokeza na mambo tunatarajia nini kuboreka kwa hii fund? Ama mabadiliko ni ya nini aswa?
Hasa kile serikali inajaribu kufanya ni reducing costs of doing things. Trying to see how do we create efficiency, ili kile kitita kiwe kikubwa na kiwe ile fedha ambayo tunatumia kutoa mikopo ni fedha kidogo. Ile the expenses, the expenditure is low but the output is big. Lakini haya ni maneno ambayo yanaendelea, ni mjadala ambao bado haujawekwa kwa public for participation. na natumai wakati ukifika kila mtu ataweza kutoa maoni yake.
Naam. Bwana Pande na mheshimiwa, labda kwa kila mtu kwa dakika moja tu, ili swala la ningependa sana ulijibu lakini wacha nikuhepe kidogo. Kwamba wanasema wazee wamekatalia afisini. Hawataki kuachia vijana nafasi. Ninyi ndio champions wa masuala ya vijana. Mnasemaje kuhusu hilo?
Ni kweli Dora kwamba kuna zile nafasi za kazi si rahisi sana kupata kijana amefikia. Na changamoto iliyoko ni kwamba kuna wakati umri wa kustaafu ulikuwa miaka 55, tukapandisha 60. Ningependekeza kwamba tunapoanza kuzungumzia mabadiliko ya katiba tubadilishe miaka ya kustaafu kushuka kutoka 60 hadi hata 50. Nasema hivi kwa nini? Wale ambao wako katika umri wa 60 kwenda juu ni asilimia chini ya 5, about 3.6% peke yake ya population ya Kenya. Unakuta kwamba basi mtu anapokuwa katika nafasi ya kazi hadi 60 years, hii miaka 10, miaka 5 ambao labda tungedonate kwa vijana waanze kufanya kujitayarisha ama kujinufaisha kujenga jamii yao inapotea. Na tunajua kwamba asilimia zaidi ya 80 ya population yetu ya Kenya ni vijana. Mbona tusishushe miaka ya kustaafu?
Lakini vijana pia kumbuke ujana ni moshi na watakuja kuzeeka.
Ni sawa, hata mimi nitazeeka na mimi na retire kutoka kijana hivi karibuni, lakini changamoto zile zileko zitazidi kuwa hata nyingi zaidi. Tunasema compounding youth issues. So hiyo miaka ya kustaafu ikuwa 50.
Waziri, unasemaje kwa dakika moja? Manake nataka niwapatie nafasi kila mtu tumalizie mjadala katika swala hili la
ningependa kusema hivi, unajua mimi ni kijana na mimi nimeaccommodate sana watu elderly. Manake unajua ukiwa kijana wakati mwingine unahitaji the wisdom of the age kufanya kazi yako, kutekeleza. Manake wako na experience, kuna vitu ambavyo wanajua ambazo
walipo na wazee hapa haribiki nene.
So lakini ningependa tu kuambia mwenzangu kwamba unajua ukisema unataka kuleta miaka chini hadi 50 years. Kumbuka kuna vijana wenzetu wamekosa kazi, unapata huyu mtu anaajiriwa kazi akiwa 40 years. Mtu unataka afanye kazi 10 years na ile, mimi kitu ninge-insist ni kwamba national government na pia county governments, I think take initiatives za create more industries, zi create jobs. Kama saizi sisi Kakamega ni industries tu, tunahakikisha kwamba tunaweka viwanda, tumeweka kiwanda ya unga, tunaendelea kuweka zingine kuhakikisha kwamba at least vijana wanapata kazi, because when you create more employment opportunities they will not have these fights between the elders and the youth in terms of employability.
Muda unanikimbiza mbio na ningependa kupeana dakika moja kwa kila mmoja.
Niseme jambo moja tu kuhusu hilo jambo. Ni kwamba huyo mtu ya 50 years kifuta yeye kazi sahihi, mtu ya kwanza kuumia ni vijana, kwa sababu anategemewa na vijana. Ako na vijana analipia school fees, ako na vijana
kila wakati atakuwa anapiga simu tuma kitu nyumbani.
Asante.
Sawa, nataka tuanze na wewe basi, kwa sababu tayari umeweza kuzungumzia kwenda mbele tufanyeje. Basi tutatafuta suluhu sana kuhakikisha matatizo ya vijana yameshughulikiwa, hasa swala la ukosefu wa ajira na vile kuna ile wanasema kuna gap katika masuala ya skills na mambo mengine, na ujumuishwaji hasa wa vijana katika masuala kikatiba.
Mimi jambo moja ningependa kuhimiza serikali za county, na ambalo nimeona kuna baadhi ya serikali za county zimefanya, ni we do business opportunity mapping, kujaribu kuangalia ni wapi watu wanaweza kuwekeza na kuhamasisha vijana kuhusu hizo nafasi, so that we do business opportunity mapping, we know which business can survive where, then we disseminate that information to young people. Na tukifanya hivyo, a lot of young people wataweza kuanzisha biashara ambazo ni endelevu, yani sustainable businesses, and that way we'll be able to create gaps within our economy, we'll be able to create jobs for our young people. Thank you.
Asante. Bwana Pande, tufanyeje kwenda mbele?
Asante sana Dora. Niseme kwamba hii hoja ya kupunguza umri wa kustaafu hatuwezi kumaliza leo. Siku zote wazee wanaambia vijana kwamba wajihusishe na biashara, lakini tunajiuliza kwamba mbona wao wenyewe wasistaafu ama watoke katika kazi za serikali wafanye biashara. Iwe kwamba mtu akiingia afanye kazi kwa serikali miaka kama 20, achukue mkopo, aende ajitafutie, apeane nafasi kwa wengine pia. Tutakuja kuzungumzia. Mwisho ni kwamba iwapo counties, serikali za gatuzi zitafanya nusu za mikakati ama jitihada ambazo zimewekwa na serikali ya kati, tutapiga hatua kubwa sana kuwanufaisha na kuwaempower vijana. Iwe kwamba kila county imefanya juhudi kuwasaidia vijana katika grassroots na county level, ili tupunguze stress katika national government na tuweze kusaidiana. National government inapoweka Youth Enterprise Fund, najua sasa wanaweka Youth Enterprise Investments Bank, tukuwe na matching funds kutoka katika counties na tuweze kusaidiana na kusaidia vijana pale chini.
Asante. Waziri Masicha, dakika yako moja.
Mimi kitu ningependa sana ifanyike both at national and county level ni a lot of youth dialogue, because wakati vijana wanapewa nafasi wazungumze, ukimpa nafasi atazungumza nini anataka. Hata wakati unazungumzia business mapping, tusiache wazee watufanyie business mapping. Wacha vijana wakuwa hapo ndani waseme mimi hii biashara ndio ningependa kufanya. Huku kwetu ni hii biashara itafanya vizuri. Manake pia wakati mwingine we make decisions for the young people on things they don't want. So tunawapatia opportunities. That is why when young people are given opportunities, in term inclusivity, will not have problems, because a lot of problems tunakuwa nazo manake they are not included in a lot of things. Mimi mara yangu ya kwanza kuja hapa studio ilikuwa wakati wa ku reject finance bill, manake I was an advocate kuzungumzia, na we felt included because we talked and our voices were heard. Yes.
Okay, kwa hivyo vijana wahusishwa katika mazungumzo mbalimbali.
Yes.
Asante sana. Huu mjadala tuweze kukamilisha, tutapanga tena zungumzia masuala ya vijana ni mengi tu. Tuone basi ni yapi ambayo tutaangazia tena katika muda ujao. Na maswali pia najua yako mengi sana kuhusu Nyota program. Kwako labda unafaa kupanga uje uambie vijana vipi mnachagua vijana ambao wanapata zile pesa za serikali. Msikilizaji na mtazamaji, kwa sababu ya muda tutakomea pale, lakini ningependa kusema asante sana kwa wageni wangu hapa studioni, Bwana Philip Pande ambaye ni mwanaharakati na mshirikishwaji katika masuala ya vijana. Asante kwa kuweza kufika, na vile vile Waziri Jacqueline Masicha kutoka kaunti ya Kakamega kwa idara ya vijana, michezo na jinsia na vile vile tamaduni, na kwako pia Mheshimiwa Benson Muthendi kutoka hazina ya Youth Enterprise Development Fund. Asanteni kufika katika studio zetu. Na kwa wote ambao pia wamefanikisha makala haya, wapige picha wangu, waelekezi wangu pande zote mbili za studio, na vile vile ningependa kusema asante Nancy Kemunto, Dennis Chisaka na vile vile Wamoi Masila kwa kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba tunakuwa na ushirikiano na vile vile kuweza kuwa na production hii katika njia iliyo sawa. Hadi wakati ujao, asante kuchagua Radio Taifa na KBC Channel 1. Vipindi vyetu vinaendelea. Mimi naitwa Dora Manya.
Saka, you're so heartless. Wah.
That doesn't give you the reason to go and make everybody your enemy. Sawa?
That's enough. Relax.
Unasema nini wewe? Mimi nilikutuma uwe anyone.
Mimi siko na uoga.
Zikani. Kai. Kwani ni mwaka mzima?
That is as per assignment.
You think we don't know you went to meet up with your mom? A woman who wants all of us down.
Katika Qur'an tukufu Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anatuamuru tukumbushane, kwani kukumbushana kunawafaa waumini. Kwa mujibu wa hadithi, Mtume Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam anatushauri tueneze ujumbe wake angalau kwa aya moja. Basi tunatia ari kufanya ambacho ni jukumu la kila Muislamu, kukumbushana mema na kukatazana maovu. Tunakuletea mawaidha za mashehe, wataalam, maustadh, madrasa, makala spesheli na Fatuma Yakub, mafunzo na historia za mitume na maswahaba, na burudani kupitia nashid na wasifu za munshid. Tazama ukumbi wa Kiislamu nami Alishe kila Ijumaa saa 9:30 katika KBC Channel 1.
Na mbono nang'ang'ania bwana ya mwenye, na nilimwambia wewe am actually married.
So what
to 5 breathing wives.
Kazi ya ujasusi ni kazi ambao inakutambulisha ujue ule mtu mahali yako na vile ako mpaka jina.
Can you tell this honorable court what is the name of that person? Because your owner money has been poured. Mbona sijakutoa ngozi niuse na pia inatengeneza bags?
Mheshimiwa Fred.
Sasa mimi unaniuliza, siwe ndio unaulizwa.
Kwani mimi mnyama mheshimiwa?
Between me and you.
Wewe
ulipewa ngapi ndio nimalize? I can double or triple.
Wewe sikiza, hatuko hapa mambo. Tena uoni haya mbele yako tu unataka
hata siwe naongea na wewe.
Na wewe pia mimi ndio naamrisha hii koti.
Say the earth without art would just be get it? We circumnavigate the globe and traverse the local scene to bring you art and culture at their very best. From fine art, culinary art, performing arts, and even cultural events, you name it, and we have got you covered. My name is Kevin Kasioki, and I will be serving you this and much, much more each and every Friday at 8 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
Let's talk matters your health. Remember at the very beginning of the show, I posed a question to you and I told you we'll be having a doctor in studio with us, so you were to send your messages. I will be sampling them as we continue. And the question was, what question do you have concerning diabetes? When it comes to diabetes, what questions do you have concerning this particular condition that is very prevalent as we speak right now in the country? Our topic of conversation is on exactly that, non-communicable diseases, and we're going to be looking at diabetes to be specific, trying to look at ways to prevent it and ways to manage diabetes if you already have it. And what better way to go about this than to have a doctor who has specialized on that. That is Dr. Daniel Katambo. Dr. Daniel Katambo is a consultant physician and the founder and CEO Afya Code Limited and a trainer on diabetes remission. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Vivian.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you.
You know, before the camera started rolling, we had a conversation on this book right here that we'll be getting into it. And trust me, I don't know how you guys are going to feel about it, because as of me right now, I'm wondering what I'll be eating. But we'll get into that. First of all, let's just start by defining what diabetes is.
Yeah. Diabetes is a group of diseases that is, by simple terms put, means when you check your blood sugar in your body, it's actually high. What causes your blood sugar to go high can be several factors. It could be due to lack of the organ that produces insulin. It's not now producing insulin. So when you take anything that is converted to sugar, then the pancreas produces insulin, and the insulin is responsible for making sure that you process the sugar and the sugar goes down. So two things could be happening, especially for the bigger two types of diabetes. Number one, it's either you do not have, the pancreas is not working well, and now when you take in anything converted to sugar, because now there is no presence of insulin totally, then this is type 1, where the pancreas is not producing insulin at all. Therefore, the sugar goes up because of type 1 diabetes. Now, type 2, on the other hand, which is the majority, tends to go up because the pancreas has been overworked for a very long time because you've been bringing in a lot of sugar. The sugar goes up, the pancreas helps you, the sugar goes up, you store it, you store it, you store it, you gain weight, you gain weight, you gain weight, until to a point whereby the pancreas is now not able to produce enough insulin. And therefore the sugar now comes up and it's producing insulin, but not a lot. In this case, then you develop type 2 diabetes. Now, so to go back to put it simply, what diabetes is, we tend to say it's a chronic progressive disease that is as a result of elevated blood sugar levels. And that could be the reasons. Just probably, I'm sure you would have asked me the types of diabetes. So that explains what type 1 diabetes is, what type 2 diabetes is. And now to explain other causes of diabetes, you could get diabetes that appears in pregnancy, which is called gestational diabetes. And at 24 weeks, 28 weeks, we screen all pregnant mothers for diabetes. You could also get diabetes due to drug abuse, especially alcohol abuse, other drugs like steroids. And you could also get drugs from several other groups of drugs. You could also get diabetes from accidents, trauma-induced diabetes, where you have, you got an accident, maybe you're riding on a motorbike, and then you get accident that injures your pancreas. And remember, we said the pancreas produces insulin that is responsible for bringing down your sugars. You could also get diabetes due to cancer of the pancreas. You could also get diabetes due to other diseases like gallstones. So there are many processes or physiological processes that can go not well or pathologically to cause your sugars to go up. That's why we say diabetes is a group of diseases. Yes.
What are the early signs of diabetes? How can I tell that I could be having diabetes?
So in general speaking, now depending on which one you have, I will talk mainly for the two common ones. So if you look at type 1 diabetes, tends to be a bit dramatic, meaning your pancreas kind of stops to produce insulin almost at once, and it's more common in children, and it tends to have two peaks between 5 and 7 years, and between 12 and 18 years. So that's when you get to see the peak. So number one is you will get a child. Number two, they will come and they will be very thirsty. They will be taking a lot of water. They will also be peeing because their sugars has gone up. It's not going down. So the body tries to eliminate the glucose. And what does it do? It eliminates the glucose through the kidney. And when it's doing that, it is eliminating with water. So you pee out, and because you're peeing out, you get dehydrated. So you're drinking and you're also peeing. And when the body is doing that, it's also asking you to bring more sugary stuff. So you tend to take things like sodas, sugary stuff. So you are eating more, you are peeing more, and you are eating more of sugary stuff. And unfortunately for type 1 also, they present when they are thin. Now for type 2, signs and symptoms are quite a little bit slower. Then it's not dramatic. In fact, one of the signs and symptoms of type 2 diabetes, the biggest sign is getting lethargy. I just feel tired. I go home, I feel I am not okay. You get home, like if you are the dad of the family, you just get into that sofa that you like sitting and you don't want to do anything else. You feel tired. So if you feel tired, you feel like your mind is kind of like foggy. You don't want, by the time you're engaging your mind, you feel like you're getting tired. At this point, you need to really be checked or screened for diabetes. Now, by the time you get the real symptoms, which are now the sugar is really elevated and you are having peeing a lot, drinking a lot, and eating a lot, that time type 2 diabetes has already established. And remember, type 2 diabetes occurs in adults, mainly in adults. It can still occur in children, but it's more in adults who are overweight and obese.
Okay, all right. How is it diagnosed?
So the diagnosis of diabetes, of course, now it will depend on what it has presented with, but there are three tests we use. Number one, you can just check your sugar. There is a gadget called a glucometer, which uses strips. You just prick yourself. You fast for 6 to 8 hours. And then you come in the morning, or you come in the evening if you have not taken anything, and we check your sugars. If your sugar is below 6 on fasting levels, if it's below 6, we say you are likely to be normal. If it's anything between 6 to 6.7, we say you are pre-diabetic. And anything more than 6.7, then we say you could probably be diabetic. Now, that is for fasting. For random blood sugar, for example, you come in and we check your sugars generally need to be less than 7.8. Anything between 7.8 to 11.1 is pre-diabetic. And anything random between more than 11.1 with symptoms, like the ones we talked about, then that time we say you have, we also diagnose you with diabetes. The third method that we use is a test we call HbA1c. HbA1c is a test that when we are following you up for after diagnosis or follow-up, we use it to regulate medications also. So when you come in and we do this test, again, I will use standalone numbers. If your number is less than 6%, then we say you are normal. If it is 6 to 6.5, then we say you are pre-diabetic. And anything more than 6.5, we say you could be diabetic. But the method for diagnosis at pregnancy is different. So during screening, there are things that we look for when you are pregnant. So if you are pregnant and you've had diabetes during pregnancy, your previous pregnancy, then during your first presentation to the clinic, we need to do what you call an OGTT, where you swallow some 75 grams of sugar and we check your sugars at 0 level and at 2 hours. And this time, if your numbers are higher, then depending on the baselines that have been put, then we can say you are diabetic. So for all pregnant mothers, if you've had diabetes previously, you must have a screening for diabetes at the time you present at this pregnancy. If you've never had diabetes, then we screen you at 24 and 28 weeks. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, what exactly brings about the diabetes in pregnant women?
So in pregnancy, diabetes is mainly due to hormonal changes. There's an hormone at 24 and 28 weeks. That is at that point that it's at its peak. And that causes what we call insulin resistance. It's called human placental lactogen hormone. And it's the one that tends to cause more insulin resistance. And that's why at that point, we want to screen and pick the condition early.
All right. Yeah. How common is diabetes in Kenya at the moment? What's the prevalence?
The prevalence of diabetes, unfortunately, it's quite common right now, and it's increasing. If you look at the risk factors for diabetes, for example, you will realize one of the risk factors for diabetes is a general population that, first of all, due to urbanization and the rest of the stuff, so you find we are using less of our legs and such. So if you look at that, the condition now has increased. So we say around 3 to 4% of adults. And how many adults are there in Kenya? Around 22, 21? That places the numbers to around probably 800 to 1 million people in Kenya living with diabetes as we speak today, adults, which is a higher number given our population. But that number is divided either for type 1 and type 2. So that will be occupied by around 95%, 90 to 95% will be type 2 diabetes, and about 5% would be occupied by the other diabetes, with 3% being type 1 and then 2% being the other types of diabetes.
All right. Let's get into diabetes remission, which is where we'll come to the book, you know. So when we talk about diabetes remissions, what are we looking at?
So previously, we have known diabetes, as I said, you remember when you asked me what's the definition, I said we have been saying that it is a chronic progressive disease. Now, I must clarify for our viewers that type 2 diabetes is the one we talk about remission. Because remember, type 1 diabetes is caused by lack of insulin. So you take in anything with sugar, especially stuff that is converted to sugar, which is carbohydrates, your sugar goes up. You need insulin to bring your sugar down. Now, if your organ is not producing insulin at all, then you realize the only treatment to this condition is insulin. So for type 1, we never talk about remission or reversal. We only talk about remission and reversal in type 2. And that is what occupies mostly of our patients. Now, I will take you back to the pathology that results from us developing type 2 diabetes. Most of us are at our thinnest level at about the time we finish campus. When we finish campus or college, or you have finished maybe your tertiary degree, somewhere there, you either get married or you're married. And you get a job. And then what happens? You start feeding, you start driving to work, you start, you come to work, you are relaxed, and you start eating in the morning. Maybe you are late, you carry your kikombe ya chai kwa gari, and you get these guys who are selling for you fruits, you buy them, and you are eating and you are driving to work. You get to work, you get here, there is probably some mandazi, there is some ndomas, there is something, and then saa 4 there is some another mandazi, saa 7 there is a mixture of chapati, rice, jioni kuna keki, kuna anniversary, tukitoka hivi kuna kapombe tumekula na kanyama na nini, na usiku bado tumekelewa hii nyama mzuri tukiwa nyumbani na mabibi zetu tukiwa home. So you find we have accustomed ourselves, first of all, in that lifestyle you have slowed down, and secondly, we are eating more. So your pancreas keeps producing insulin to keep up with the sugars that you're bringing in. But you only needed this amount in a day. But this day you are bringing in a lot. So the pancreas keeps trying to keep up with you, So over years, you gain weight due to these habits. So you gain weight because the body is trying to convert the sugar into something to store it for your future. But you are never deprived, because tomorrow you will do the same. So you keep gaining weight, but the body and the pancreas gets tired at some point. And at this point, that is when you develop type 2 diabetes. Now, think about it this way. If now you lowered the amount of sugar that is coming in, and you're able to keep up with the amount of insulin that the body is producing. For example, if you lowered your carbohydrate intake, we usually measure, there are a way we can approximate, from 250 grams to probably, let's say, 50 to 70 grams. You have lowered it. What happens to your insulin levels? They go low. Now, how much drugs do I need in this point? If I were taking drugs, it's because in the morning I was taking 4 slices of bread. If you take 4 slices of bread, I've just shown you off camera, you get like about 15 teaspoons of sugar, right? And now at that point, that's when you are taking drugs. What if you don't take the 4 slices of bread and you take probably 3 eggs and mboga and your coffee or your tea? The sugar remains flat. How much drugs do you need?
You do
not need drugs. So in this case, if you're able to keep this and your HbA1c drops from maybe 10.8 to 6.5, then we say you are in remission. As long as you sustain that for 3 months, then we say you are in remission. And that's why we have coined the word type 2 diabetes reversal or remission. And it's now commonly widely used.
So it's actually recognized by medical organizations, for example, like World Health Organization, the remission. Whereby you just work on your lifestyle, work on what you're eating, and you do not need the drugs for diabetes. Let's get into the book. This is where the shock for me came in, because when I talk about healthy diets, probably your breakfast, what do you think about? You think about your cup of tea or coffee, and then you have it with your ndoma, ongwashe, and then you have a fruit, probably a banana. But if you look at this book, which is called Kenya's First Comprehensive Kitabu cha Sukari, a photographic guide to weight loss, pre-diabetes, and diabetes management. If you look into this book, I don't know if you know where they are. So let's find the ngwashe.
Sweet
and then
potatoes.
we find a banana, one banana. And the equivalent of the amount of teaspoons of sugar that you'll be taking in is shocking. So for ngwashe, you take 1 ngwashe, this size of ngwashe, or maybe just a piece of ngwashe. If it's just this piece, I don't know. Okay, let's do it from this side so that we can zoom it in. There we go. If it's just Okay, there we go. If it's just 1 piece of ngwashe, then you're taking an equivalent of 4 teaspoons of sugar. That's 1 piece of ngwashe, 4 teaspoons of sugar. For those of us who eat much, if you eat this whole ngwashe, then you're taking in 6 tablespoons of sugar in the morning. That time you're having your tea bila sukari because you don't want sugar, right? Yeah. And then we have that with a banana.
Yes.
Where's the banana? All right, let's find the banana. It's interesting. And that's why I'm wondering, what are we supposed to be eating? But the doctor is here. He will advise. So you're having that piece of ngwashe, which was just one of them, if you don't eat much, which was 4 tablespoons of sugar. If you have it with 1 banana right here, just 1 piece of banana, it's equivalent to 9 tablespoons of sugar. But we're always advised to have fruits.
Yes, we are always told so.
Yes. So at the end of the day, you've taken 13 tablespoons of sugar in the morning.
Yes.
Atujaangalia bado lunchtime.
And remember, a human being needs around 10 to 15 in a day.
10 to 15 tablespoons.
Everything, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So now, I want us to do a whole meal for the whole day.
Yes.
So now we have an equivalent of 13 tablespoons, right? Yeah. Just in the morning.
Yes.
What are we having for lunch? The healthy version that we all believe it's healthy. Githeri.
Yes.
Find me githeri. I want us to just look at it and
this the last
get as shocked as I am.
That last one.
So we have githeri. Yes. You have a plate of githeri. Lunchtime. We're just trying to check how many tablespoons of sugar we take in a day without knowing that we're actually ingesting that much sugar. So for githeri, a plate of githeri, not even much, is equivalent to 13 tablespoons of sugar.
Yes.
Wow. So plus 13, that's 26.
Yes.
That's lunchtime. What are we having for dinner?
Remember at 4 there is a cake.
Oh, yeah.
That has come because there's an anniversary.
Ama chai ya jioni, which is chai and 2 pieces of mandazi. Mogaka says he has 4 pieces.
So which cake are we taking?
So we have pieces of cake here. Most of us love Black Forest. So let's take a piece of Black Forest. Na chai ya jioni.
Yes.
Right? There we go. A piece of Black Forest. It's equivalent to 17 teaspoons of sugar.
Yes.
My goodness.
Yeah.
17 teaspoons of sugar. So that's 33.
Yes.
33.
Yes.
Okay, my director is saying we love chapati over here. So dinner we are having chapati and
yes.
Beans.
You want to have chapati beans?
Let's have chapati beans.
Okay,
dinner.
Chapati beans is 20. So here, mbili ama tatu?
Chapati ni ngapi? Mbili. Nne, you're overdoing, my friend.
The one down there.
There we go. 2 pieces of chapati with your beans.
Yes.
That's equivalent to 20 teaspoons of sugar. My goodness.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, there we go.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, in just that one day, believing that we've had a healthy diet throughout the day. Kwa sababu hata hatujakula red meat. Si red meat tunaambiwangwa it's not very good.
That's very interesting actually. Now compare with red meat. Assuming you take kuku choma, for example.
Okay.
Right?
But just with the breakfast that we had with chai and your piece of ngwashe and a banana, and then lunchtime we had githeri, and then we had a piece of cake, chai ya jioni, and then usiku tumekula chapati na beans. That's an equivalent of 53 tablespoons of sugar in a day.
Yeah.
That's alarming.
And that word we have used, alarming, is the reason why diabetes is on alarming levels. That is exactly what is leading us to diabetes, unknowingly. So in terms of prevention, we need to reduce how much sugar we are bringing into our bodies. So you don't have to really cut out carbohydrates, but you can reduce because you can see the reason why we are where we are. So the point is now, if you're not diabetic, then we need to make sure that we are not taking this much so that we don't get there.
Yeah.
And that is why the question of what then do we eat, right? Now go into this stir-fried goat, 300 grams, has how many?
Watu wa nyama, masani yetu. There we go. So 300 grams of nyama. Here we have it. That's red meat. 300 grams is equivalent to 0 tablespoons of sugar. Isn't it pieces ngapi?
300 grams.
300 grams. Here we go. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's 0 tablespoons of sugar.
So let's say you take it with what? Lunchtime.
Ugali.
Kaugali. Let me show you where the kaugali is. The kaugali is here.
Remember, you can get to join in this conversation. The number is 0716-103-301. 0716-103-301. Talk to me. Let me know how shocked you are right now, or if you have any questions for our doctor, he's here. He's going to answer us. So we are having it with a piece.
Yeah.
Just this piece, though I know this is not what you guys eat, but let's go with this, just one piece of it. This piece of ugali plus the nyama, 300 grams, you'll have taken 6 tablespoons of sugar.
Yes.
Which is not bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And then now, probably in the morning, you took something that doesn't have a starch, right? And I will show you what it could be.
So you say normally for, you know, if
you're supposed to range between 10 to 15.
10 to 15 tablespoons.
Ikienda sana ifike 20.
Okay, 10 to 15 tablespoons.
Now look at this second picture. That one. Eggs, mboga, na avocado.
Okay, if you decide to have your breakfast, ikiwa just 2 boiled eggs with some mboga and avocado, if this is your breakfast, then at the end of that meal, you'll have taken only 1 tablespoon of sugar.
Exactly.
So bottom line is we avoid carbohydrates at all costs. But it has its work in the body for us to have had a balanced diet. You know, from the simple science we learned in school, you need to have your carbohydrates intake, you need to have your protein intake, you need to have your vitamin intake. So how to go about it?
So, and I know this is where diabetes reversal, if you really aim to have diabetes reversal in any patient that you see, you must then demystify some of these things that we learned in school. For example, we were told that carbohydrates are energy-giving foods.
Yes.
True or false? They are. And I agree. But they give you energy plus what? Sugar. All right? So if I take a banana, now you know you will get about 8 teaspoons of sugar with energy. If I take nyama, I'll also get energy, but without the sugar. All right? If I take sukuma wiki, I will also get energy without the sugar. If I took vegetables, I will get vitamins, minerals, phosphorus, and all those minerals that people are looking for in fruits without the sugar. So bottom line, food can be put into like 4 categories. I like putting them. 1, there is vegetables, there is fats, there is proteins, and then there is carbohydrates. This is what people tend to concentrate the most. But do you know how many carbohydrates do you need in a day? And scientifically speaking, is 0. And we know it. So what group of carbohydrates is called, what foods fall under carbohydrates? And the number 1 on the list is fruits.
Yeah.
So if we do not need carbohydrates, and the first number here is fruits, so how many fruits do you need in a day? Realistically speaking, if you don't eat a fruit and you take enough vegetables, then whatever the fruit is giving you, you can get it in the vegetables without the sugar. So there is no fear. So when we talk about carbohydrates, we need 0 amount of them in the body. And what the body does, for example, if I eat nyama, and then the body wants some sugar, through a process of gluconeogenesis in the liver, the body is able to generate sugar. But if I eat mkate and the body needs proteins, there is no way mkate can be converted into proteins. No. The other way around, it's impossible. So if I ate like a bit of fats, like healthy fats, like kuku na ngozi yake, and then the body realizes, oh, I need a little bit of some fat, it will use, some glucose. It will use gluconeogenesis process to process and convert the fat into sugar. That's fine, and it will just convert the basic one that it needs. But if I eat, on the other hand, I eat ice cream, and then the body needs the essential amino acid, you will never get them. So basically speaking, if you are at a point of prevention, if your point is about prevention, then you need to minimize. I'm not saying people should not take carbohydrates. All I'm saying is that people need to minimize. As you've seen, in fact, I will tell you on average, people take about 80 to 100 teaspoons of sugar. That we were very modest. If you look at how many people. Now you can imagine just moving from 80 to 100. And our quest is, let's reduce this to even maybe 20 to 30, so that the prevalence of obesity and diabetes can go down.
All right. And on that note, we have a live link right now. Allow me to hand you over to Miriam Masava, who is at the Rema Fest 2025 that is happening, that is currently ongoing. It officially started yesterday at 2 p.m. and it is currently ongoing. Masava is right there on your screens, coming to us live from Uhuru Park. Masava, tell us what is happening over there.
Well, good morning to you, Vivian, and good morning to all our viewers this morning. Yes, indeed, this is the day the Lord has made. My name is Miriam Odanga, coming to you from Uhuru Park, where this is Rema Fest 2025 happening here at Uhuru Park. And Rema Fest is a gathering of believers, non-believers, a gathering of Kenyans. You know, Rema Fest is just a gathering of people coming together to hear the gospel of God, to hear different speakers who have been brought in from different countries, just to hear these speakers preaching the gospel to people. Yeah, so it attracts different people across Africa, Europe, Asia, America. People come as far as Canada, Australia, just gather here in Kenya to hear what the Lord has in store for them. All right, and Rema Fest has been happening for 10 years, and this is the 10th year, and the theme for this year is I will build my church, coming from the book of Matthew chapter 16 verse 18, where Jesus is talking to Peter, telling him, upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail. Rema Fest began yesterday, and it's an event that goes for a whole week. So for this year, it will end on Friday, the 5th of September 2025. Rema Fest begins early in the morning every day. So early in the morning at around 8 a.m. goes all the way to 10 p.m. And yesterday we saw the opening ceremony was amazing. The first speaker was Pastor or Bishop J.B. Masinde, a father in the land who is celebrated, honored and loved by Kenyans. And we saw also different speakers like Pastor Poju, Pastor Oyedepo from Nigeria, and we had Minister Sinach from Nigeria, Minister Kambua, and also Minister Rebecca Don, ushering us to Rema Fest with beautiful, amazing, powerful songs that really led people to pray and just to worship and bask in the presence of God. Just that was just day one. What do you expect about day two? Day two is amazing. Day three will be even more powerful. Day 4 and day 5 will be more powerful, because we're expecting even greater speakers will be joining us here. I'm talking about Apostle Joshua Salma, Pastor Tim Mwangi, Reverend Julian Kula, and others. So you want to stay here on KBC Channel 1 to be blessed with this speaker. So I just want to catch up with one or two people who have been here since yesterday to tell us how their experience about Rema Fest was. So for a minute or so or less, let me just speak with Rosalind. Rosalind, you can join me here and tell us Rema Fest imekuaje since yesterday.
Hi, I'm Rosalind. I was really blessed yesterday. The speaker that ministered to me, he came out so simply, Bishop J.B. Masinde. He told us that God is able to do exceedingly, abundantly, above all that we can ask or even think. And there's a statement he made that hatufai kurumia Mungu. So that stood out for me. And it's not my first time in Rema Fest. This is my 4th time in Rema Fest since 2022. And I'm looking forward for what God has in store for us.
Well, thank you so much, Rosaline. Yes, that's it. And you can catch up with John as well. Thank you so much, Rosaline. John, kuja utuambie ini marako ya kwanza Rema Fest.
Okay, my name is John, and ideally this is my first time attending Rema Fest. It was an invitation from my friend, and I'm expecting so much in terms of spiritual growth, being ministered upon by these great men of God. So I hope for this whole week it will be such an amazing time, a wonderful time to actually get to connect with God and all these ministers that are ministering to us. So dearly I expect a lot from this week of the Rema Fest.
Yes. Thank you so much, John. Thank you. So yesterday we saw an amazing firework at around 9 p.m. and it was so beautiful. Na tuko na majenzi going to the street, just chanting and singing beautiful songs about the beautiful song, gospel song of Pastor Nathaniel Basi, who's also be joining us on Thursday and Friday. Watu wa Hallelujah Challenger, this is the day for you. On Friday, join us here at Uhuru Park. Pastor Nat will be ministering. He is bringing Hallelujah Challenge Kenya edition here on Friday night, going through to Saturday morning. Tutakuwa tunaimba tu hey Yahweh Sabaoth. So join us here on Y254 on KBC and catch all the ministering gospel songs, gospel words. You don't want to go anywhere. And ministering right now, right behind me, tunawezaona there is a speaker who is speaking, and his name is Pastor Felix Oko from South Africa. Now he's ministering in line with the theme of the day, which is I will build my church. Pastor Felix Oko from South Africa. And there are other speakers who will be coming in today, later on today. This is just the first session here at Rema Fest 2025 on Tuesday morning. Of course, there are other speakers. If I could just get the list and tell you more people who will be joining us this day. The first speaker for the day today is Pastor Felix Oko from South Africa. Then later on we'll have Pastor Oyedepo, Lady Bishop Kathy Kiuna, our very own mama of JCC. We'll there have Pastor Poju and Lady Bishop Funke Felix. That is the lineup for today, Tuesday. And also Wednesday we'll also have Lady Bishop Kathy Kiuna, Bishop J.B. Masinde, Pastor T. Mwangi, and Reverend Julian Kula. Let me not preempt so that you can plan yourself what speaker mgani you want to come listen to. But I want to invite you here at Uhuru Park and come and listen to all speakers. You don't need to decide which speaker you want to come listen to. Come listen to all of them. All right. Just to remind you, Tuesday today, the one ministering right now is Pastor Felix Oko. And then later on, we shall have Pastor Oyedepo, then Lady Bishop Kathy Kiuna, Pastor Poju.
All right, and there we have it. Thank you so much, Miriam, for that. Now, we've talked about the food for the stomach, which was what we were talking about, food for the body. But if you want to go get some food for the soul, you know where to go. That is Uhuru Park. We end this conversation right here. Thank you so very much, Dr. Daniel Katambo, for joining us. We definitely are going to find some more time so that we come back and talk about what exactly is proper for us to put in our bodies. If anyone of you wants to get a copy of the book or wants to get to know more about, just how much sugar you may be intaking, you can find Afia Code across all social media platforms, right? Afia Code on Facebook, Instagram, all over. You can find them. Thank you so much, Doc.
Thank you.
All right, this is where we end this conversation. Thank you so very much. My name is Vivian Degwa. This is Good Morning Kenya. We do this each and every morning. So see you next time.
Looking to advertise on KBC? KBC announcement services are now available on eCitizen. Visit kbc.ecitizen.go.ke and fill out the online application form. It's simple. 1. Complete the form. 2. Upload required documents. 3. Receive a quotation based on word count. And 4. Get notified via SMS when your announcement is ready. Please note, clearly indicate the type of announcement, service station, and all relevant details. 2. All applications must be made online only. Manual submissions will not be accepted. And 3. Announcements will air after news bulletins. For assistance, reach us on email ecitizen@kbc.co.ke or use our social media handles, Facebook, your Facebook account, and X at your X account. Or you can call us on 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124. KBC announcements. Simple, fast, and digital.
Wewe ndio mwizi. Samee tu, uone ni mlevi. Nini imefika hapa? Nadhani ni venye school fees yako inamsumbua.
Daddy, nini umeficha?
Allah, nini mbaya?
Daddy.
Nini? Elijah, wewe!
Nika, hakuna mahali imeandikwa mimi ndio nitamaliza umaskini wa familia yenu. Ile kitu anafanya na Pastor John.
Nyamaza. Nitacheka mimi.
Do you want a job with a real future and a well-paid one at that? Then tech might just be the field for you. Headhunters are on the lookout for smart recruits to fill lucrative roles. But how's it looking for women? Tech is still a male-dominated field after all. We're going to show you 3 women who challenged that status quo and won. Coming up today. But first, let's say you want to get your foot in the door. What skills might you need? Right now, it's all about web, software, and database development, as well as operations. So learning a programming language is a good place to start. Python, JavaScript, or Java, for example. While it might sound daunting, almost 30% of developers are self-taught by watching tutorials on YouTube, for example. A degree in computer science can't hurt, but it's no longer a must. Internationally, only 1 in 5 companies insist upon a college degree. So, what's stopping women from getting involved? Entrepreneur and consultant Adiva Mignon has a few ideas.
The first reason is the lack of role models. We have very male-dominated teams in the tech industry. And as a woman, it's not very attractive to see I might be the only woman there. The second reason is that we are only just starting to get young women and girls interested in tech. This prejudice starts in school, where boys are often presumed to be better in the technical field and girls aren't supported. The third reason is that we, on the employer side, need to offer more flexible working conditions. If we solve this, we'll attract more women to the sector.